Hello! Hope you're all having a great day. Welcome to the Normal America Show. Day shift. It's cold here. What's going on? I don't think I've turned the heat on in my house yet because it's been unseasonably warm. So I'm paying for it today as upstairs here, it's less lived in and I feel like colder. So I don't know. Also, I have a problem going. I don't know what it is. My left eye here, it's all blurry today. That's probably a good sign, right? So I'm having trouble reading. Or maybe I'm just an idiot with low IQ and I have trouble reading. Take your pick. My goodness, what a day. Excited tomorrow. I got a field trip with my son. We're going to a pumpkin patch with his class. I'm Spiro knows it's a low IQ thing. Very excited for that. It'll be cool to see my son interacting with his friends from school. I don't really get to see that opportunity, so I'm very much looking forward to it. So it should be good. I got a bunch of interviews and one I've lined up for next week. I'm talking to someone named Indian Jesus. Then I'm doing someone that's going to be Wednesday. I'm doing a podcast Monday. Tuesday, I have a debate on Modern Day Debate. So I'm trying to fill out the schedule here for y'all, taking different opportunities and things like that. What I need from you all is money. No, what I need is your continued support. It's very much appreciated. Super chats definitely appreciated. Also, like, subscription, recommending me to anyone else, etc. Really appreciate the support everyone gives. Topics on the agenda for today's call-in stream. Well, we have the Middle East peace deal that allegedly has been brokered. We'll see how that results. I thought there was an interesting story that most people probably aren't commenting on from Japan and sort of the most recent elections there, where there was sort of a surprise right-winger that won that election. I'll play a little video for that. I haven't delved deep into it, but I think it's interesting because I think what you're seeing is, despite sort of establishment pressure around the world to sort of institute a lot of like what we see as left-wing politics in the United States, that same sort of idea, country after country is pushing back on this. It's becoming less and less popular, particularly ideas of mass immigration from the third world. They've had enough. And that doesn't mean that I will always agree with every right-winger, particularly as it's implemented in different countries. But I think that it's a positive sign that you see a lot of sort of countries adhering to closer what I would call populism, particularly right-wing populism, particularly on that issue of immigration. And that has to be a huge blow to sort of the establishment that wants interchangeable. They want an erosion of national borders. They don't want Japanese people in Japan. They want whatever cogs will fit in the borders of what was once called Japan, and then move those people there into different countries and erode national borders. So we're all just worker bees. That's what they want. So that's subject and enigma on Kick here. Look at this. Small sugar pumpkins this year. Yes, the vines do have little spikes. I did know that. So there's a pumpkin patch right above my in-laws' place. We always go and pick our own pumpkins there. I don't know what's going on. I got something in my eye last night. Just hit a cement post in your car. What the hell happened? You meathead. Oh, man. You idiot. Jeez Louise. That's my brother in real life. Anyways. Yeah, there you go. Hell with those cement posts. So, I'm going to end up wearing an eye patch here, which is funny if anyone knows my personal life. So yeah, there's, what other topics did I have here? Obviously, we have still the left-wing violence that we talked about somewhat. Boston, we had 2 nights of violence there. Despite the fact that it's supposedly the safest city in the country, according to their news. I'm so sorry. I'm so distracted by my eye here. What the hell is going on? Meanwhile, it continues to be a non-story that the Attorney General for Democrat nominee in Virginia has said that, he wants children of his opponents to die so they feel pain and would put bullets in his opponents. Not covered by the New York Times. Of the mainstream outlets, 63 seconds devoted over a 3-day period. 63 seconds when it comes to NBC, PBS, ABC, and CBS. 63 seconds. So, quite funny. But why beat around the bush? Let's put the link out there. I don't know. Steelborn, thanks for being a member. We'll get to the super chats here in a second. I do not know what's going on with my eye, but it is a real bummer. It's becoming hard to read. That's wrong. That's not what I want. Give me a second. I got to pin the... Here we go. Okay. I don't know if it's something in my eye or what. It's super blurry, and as I'm reading, it's giving me a headache. And it's watering real bad, as you could probably see. I don't know. Might be an eyelash or something like that. Probably what's going on. Anyways, we'll power through. So, thank you so much to the Great Naughty Germ for $5. Really appreciate it. Always do. Steelborn, thank you so much for becoming a member. How long till they have me debating at DebateCon? The DebateCon debates are more religious. I don't want to do religious debates. Now, my first call, Grid Motorsports, he's having an event the day before a DebateCon. And maybe I'll be debating at it. Those will be more political and cultural relevant, or not relevant, cultural debates. AJC, thanks so much. $10 says day shift in attendance. Pink eye, that's what I get for playing on my phone with bed. Maybe. I hope not. I've had pink eye before. Pink eye is a big deal to me. Unlike you plebes. No, I'm allergic to sulfa, which is the drops they give you if you have pink eye. I learned that when I was like 10 or 11. Maybe it's an ocular migraine. I don't know. It's like my eye is completely fuzzy. If I close my right eye, I can't even see out of my left eye. It's so fuzzy. My right eye's fine. It's just the left eye. So then because it's fuzzy and blurry, when I'm trying to read with both eyes, it's like really hard. Hopefully it's just something in my eye and it'll be fun. I know. Letting people fart in my pillow. Maybe it's a tumor. It's not a tumor. Maybe it's a tumor. How did Arnold know? Like he's some sort of doctor? I don't know. Anyways, Colin links up there. We'll talk about anything you want within terms of service. Yeah, Spiro, that's not normal. Most people didn't have bullies trying to give them pink eye for being in there. Shit. But we'll take calls. I could just sit here with my eyes closed while I'm taking calls, and then it won't be so bad. This is the day Grid's going to be like, here's a document I have for you to read, like 50 pages, and I'm going to be like, shit! But the call-in link's up there, so if anyone wants to call in. Now listen, it's always the same way on the day shift. I'll talk to the first couple callers for like an hour because there'll be no one else in the queue. And then by like 1:30, when I have like a half hour to an hour to go, I'll have 14 people jump in the call. And then I got like 3 minutes per call. So if you're thinking of calling in, just do it. Just call in now. It'll allow me to have more time to spend with you. But look, night shift is talking mad shit. They broke the goal last night. Day shift didn't. So I'm just throwing that out there. I'll continue to remind day shift. And I honestly feel partially responsible. Actually, I'm wholly responsible as the streamer that's not entertaining enough to get the goal to, get people excited enough to break the goal. So it's my fault, but we're going to do better today. My commentary is going to be fantastic no matter what the callers say. I'm going to be remarkably entertaining, even if I only have one eye to do it. That's okay. That's what life's about, powering through. That's what my daddy taught me. So away we go. We're going to power through this shit. We're going to do it. Also, I remind you, this is the last day shift of the week. Tomorrow I'll be going on a field trip with my son. We'll still do the night show. And then the weekends, I usually don't do the day shift stuff because I have like this great family that I like hanging out with. They're pretty cool. You guys should try it. Get yourself married, have kids. I highly recommend it. It's good stuff. Bullshit. Day shift sent $550 to a chair. That ain't me. They didn't send no $550 to me. It's not my fault that they had one good day. All right. Oh, you're saying it's all on day shift, not me. I see. I read that wrong. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here with day shift. Anyways, Collins out there. I don't have to tell my first guest this, but remember, the only rule we have with the Collins is keep it terms of service. No calls to violence. It's unacceptable. It's against terms of service. It's immoral. It's not strategic. We don't want any slurs or anything like that occur on this channel. Please remember, I'm not just streaming to YouTube. I'm also streaming to other platforms such as Twitch. So you wouldn't just be screwing me over on YouTube. You'd be screwing me over on multiple platforms. So, but I know my first caller knows that as a streamer himself. So let's bring on Grid. What's happening today, Grid?
Not much, man. Getting ready to do my show, hanging out, just I got a little bit of an early start today. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go over and harass robnoerr because I haven't done that in a while.
Yes. Harassing me is always fun. And I like to do it myself.
It's unfair because you have one eye tied behind your back.
That's okay. It'll get better. My rage as I'm being yelled at will focus my eyes. So it'll be. Sometimes I like to leave little messages to myself in pre-recorded videos, just talking shit on myself. And it's that feels cathartic, Of course, it sucks later when I read the message and hear all the insults about myself. But yeah. So what's on your mind today? You getting ready for DebateCon?
Well. I'm getting ready for TwitchCon. Actually, I leave for TwitchCon next week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm going to go out and learn all about being a more effective Twitch streamer because I make $0 on Twitch, and I haven't for a year and a half. So I figure I might as well figure this shit out.
Well, to the Twitchers out there watching me right now, I have 2 of them watching. Thank you so much. Twitch was actually the platform that I first used and had like any success whatsoever. I used to stream to like 30, 40 people on Twitch. Then I did a debate with Counterpoints and got suspended for 30 days. And then I didn't stream to Twitch for like 60 days after that because I was pissed off. And when I came back, I just have no reach. I got like maybe 2 or 3 people that watch me there. So
there's a lot of nonsense with Twitch. And I honestly have ignored the platform because of it. But I have now people that are like, no, you've got to get in on Twitch. You've got to be there. And I'm like, do I?
Now the guy from Twitch, he was testifying in front of Congress. Was that yesterday? Is that today?
I thought it was today, but it could be yesterday. I've been busy, so I could have easily.
I haven't seen anything about it. And it's weird because some of the accounts I follow on X, they're into sort of the drama business. And so I would have thought I would have heard about it because there's a lot of people, even on the left, there's a lot of people that, feel that he's been selective. He's like bolstered Hassan and allowed him to get away with shit. So it must not have occurred yet. I feel like I would have heard about it.
Yeah, it's really, I don't know. Again, I'm just I've got to do a bunch, I got to do what I got to do. And so it cost me a little bit of money to go out there, but it's not terrible. So it'll be fine.
Well,
obviously I'm getting ready for my event. Modern Day Debate has been reaching out to me left and right about, how, things that they want to do and directions they want to go. So that's, I'm hoping to be able to help those guys out. It really, honestly, though, it seems like it's always one of those things where there's an allocation of resources, and it just seems like, you know, it's bad.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
you know,
that's okay. Hey, I'm gonna get, like, I'm happy that at least some of the recommendations have been taken, like, seriously. Um, I heard from Fabian Liberty that Modern Day Debates finally reached out to him. I think that's a step in the right direction. Obviously, you have, they've been in touch with you, and I've been hammering on these guys for months. That they have to, especially you two guys. You guys are like top shelf debaters, and if you're going to have a debate platform, you got to have the good guys on there, the guys that are going to be able to bring it and keep it, keep away from TOS, keep away from, you know, too much of the drama, but just the right amount. And like I said, you and Fabian Liberty are two of my favorite.
I
People.
appreciate that. I like Fabian as well. And, um, listen, it's one of those things where I have opinions and advice on how to run a channel, like a
Mhm.
debate platform. Like, that's not what
Sure.
I do. That's not really what I'm interested in. But
Mhm.
on the other hand, I'm not doing it. So it's
Right.
easy to be a Monday morning quarterback and say, well, this is what I would do and blah, blah, blah. So I wish nothing but the best for James, for real. Um,
Yeah, I really hope that what I hope for it to do is to become not just his platform that he's appealing to, but other platforms are rafting together with him, so that at some point DebateCon becomes a true con with
right.
all kinds of different things going on. Um, that's my hope. I don't know. I get a little discouraged sometimes because the I think I think debate and just idea exchange, if you will, is probably the most critical element on the internet right now.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I agree. I think it's massively important, and I think it's going to get bigger. Uh, I'm really hoping DebateCon does great. I really am.
I
And
do.
I look, I'm selfish. Well, I don't know if selfish is the right word. I'm nepotistic. I want right wingers or people that I like to do good. And I think
Mhm.
James seems like a decent guy. I want your channel to do good when you're hosting debates. I want Sarah's channel to do good. I want Speakeasy to do good, as opposed to the left wingers that are doing this, if I'm honest. And, I dealt with the left wingers with the debate scene, setting up debates for 3, 4 years, whatever topics they wanted, whatever opponents they wanted,
Mhm.
whatever moderation style they wanted. And so I would much prefer it be people that are more moderate or that are right wingers.
Mhm.
And, so I'm really wishing for all their success. But yes, I think that it is right place, right time. I think that for a litany of reasons, people are entertained by and want to see people doing serious debates and even unserious debates to some degree, like just
Yeah.
discussions and stuff. And I think that sort of the online sort of sphere is going to be growing. And the question is going to be who's going to be part of that? Is it going to be because you know, a big platform that's like soulless, like YouTube or something, or not
Mhm.
YouTube, but like the people that run it, they're going to be like, we're going to put a bunch of money in this and do it our way, or is it going to be like more organic and it's going to be people
Yeah.
that grew a community from the ground up? So I hope it's the latter. I do. That's not to say that I begrudge anyone if they get big investors. That's perfectly reasonable. But you see the point I'm making. I hope that
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
people
Absolutely.
that
Well, I
are
think
intimately in this online debate sphere and have been doing it for a while have a hand in, because I definitely think it's inevitable that it's going to blow up. So
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting. The most interesting thing to me, and I don't know that you will find this interesting. I think you're just gonna be like, yeah, that's old hat. Who cares? It is almost impossible to get actual, left wing debaters to debate in public,
yeah,
IRL. I have reached out to so many people. I'm left on red. I literally or they, I would, but, and Now, part of that is just, look, I'm not a super huge channel. There's, it's not, me asking him saying, hey, look, I'm putting together this great event and you should be a part of it. It's to some degree, it's like, whatever. But I honestly think that, I think that the on the right, when it comes to the social issues, when it comes to political issues, on the people right now, the right, center right, moderate, whatever, are running circles around the lefties, and it's just annoying them to it just annoys them so bad.
Here, I don't disagree. So let me say a couple things, though, to not really push back, but just to give.
No. I appreciate all input.
Like, I think that in general, it's hard to get people to do in real life events that are streamers if they're not full-time streamers. So, like, for me, there is zero chance I would go to DebateCon unless I had a big name debate scheduled for me. If I had my previous job, I just wouldn't be able to find the time. I wouldn't be able to justify it financially. So I think that the model that you're going to see a lot of people going to, and people might be like, what? Are you serious? There's going to have to be payments, significant payments to get a lot of people, both on the right and the left. Now, the difference is for the events that you're talking about, it's sort of going to be a party that there's going to be a lot of right-wing community people there. There's going to be a lot of people from the Crucible there. There's going to be a lot of modern-day debate people, which modern day debate's less right-wing, don't get me wrong, than the Crucible, but a lot of the people that are excited to go to this event are going to be excited because of the people they see on that platform that are right-wing streamers. The formerly modern day debate had, when they had Andrew debate Dillahunty, there were a lot of Dillahunty fans, I think, in person in the crowd. So you need a big character on one of these platforms that will bring in a crowd. So if you're not that, like, let's say, let's put the shoe on the other foot. Let's say Progressive Victory or whatever, some group like that's putting on a debate thing, and it's going to be like all the Destiny's fans there, and
like
all these Hassan fans,
tour, right?
Like, am I going to go just for free to debate them? I probably go because I'm a psycho, but most right wingers would be like, well, no. If I have to take time off work, or if it's going to cost me money. And it's not like I'm going to hang out with my friends. It's going to be a whole crew of people that I have no interest in hanging out with. So I think that you have to incentivize the left-wingers to come. And it's difficult if you can't do it because it's going to be the environment, a bunch of their fans there, then you have to do it financially. You have to provide, or at least spell it to them in a way that they can see that there's going to be significant benefit to them.
There may be something to that, but moreover, what it really seems like is that they just don't want to. I mean, they literally just don't want to do it. Like, it's, and I'm reaching out to full-time streamers. I'm not reaching out to people.
Well, here's the other advice I have for you. Like, how's Tim Pool do it? How's he get left-wing people? Now, obviously, Tim's got access. He's got two things going for him that we don't.
Yeah.
The first is he's already
massive
big.
Platform.
Right, massive platform. So that's already big. But how does he do it? I mean, he was literally. Look, maybe I'm spilling tea. I'll be honest. I'm sort of talking out my ass with this. I've heard rumors. My understanding is that it works something like this. There are a lot of people in the left-wing space that are paid through official organizations. And if you want to get a network of people, you got to work with that, right? Like, you're seeing Tim Pool get these left-wing streamers that's like, well, they're sort of at our level, like, as far as their reach. They're not really huge. So what's going on? Yeah, how's Wick getting on Tim Pool? Right? And it's because, my understanding is because you work through someone like, Erudite or someone like that, and the group of people that they're paid to be connected to. And it's like, here's our roster of people, right? Yeah. And if that group and that roster's not interested in working with you, then you don't get access to that roster of people. Well, and I'll just real quick, I'll finish with it. I don't know. I don't know the machinations behind the scenes. I know that that there are other people that know more about this than me. So I'm not going to mention any names, but you maybe talk to them and see what's going on.
Well, so I've heard, look, I've heard all of that, and I've heard more. I've heard that because of who they might get matched with, they won't show up because they don't want to debate those people, because they're literally, they just don't want to take the L. Tim has a lot going for him in that he has that massive outreach. He pays for your travel.
Yes.
I don't know if he pays, for you to be put up or whatever, but Tim
He
I
does.
think has Tim has a really, pretty standard, what I think of as a pretty standard thing if you're going to do a weekly show and have people on every week. But to go to an event and in front of a live audience, I think is a little different. But the feedback that I'm getting realistically is part of what you say. Like without it being part of their club circuit, like, and you mentioned not so erudite, so I'll play off of that.
By the way, I don't particularly like erudite, but I'm not saying that as an insult.
Right.
Perfectly
No,
reasonable and legit. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned it, so I'll continue to relate it. So if I went to somebody that was in erudite's sphere, like Jasmine Jafar, right? Like Jasmine Jafar did modern day debate last year or in February, which wasn't last year, but and against Alex Stein. I don't know what the deal was to get her
the
there.
pimp on a blimp. He did, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And she came and took the debate really seriously, and he did not. And he basically spent the entire time, kind of like bantering, right? Like he was obviously not taking her seriously as a debater. That may have upset her. But if I went to and said, hey, I want Jasmine Jafar to come and debate robnoerr on, I don't know, sexual morality.
Appropriate clothing. Yeah.
Appropriate clothing. Yeah. And if I said that to her, she'd probably be, she'd be like, no, I don't want to debate robnoerr because robnoerr is going to, and she obviously won't say this out loud, but erudite won't let that happen because you'll make Jasmine Jafar look like an idiot on camera and live, and they're just not going to. They just don't want that. They really don't. And so,
yeah, I mean, there's definitely an idea of protecting. Look,
it's a protectionist.
I will talk to you when we get there. I'll just say this.
Yeah, we can talk about it in person. That's fine.
Yes, and because some of it, or in private, it doesn't. It's not a lot of secretive. I'll just say this. I do work for the Crucible. And so there are things behind the scenes. I'm not saying I'm not breaking any massive story, but I'll just say Andrew does a lot of in real person events. So I happen to know some of the like background and of what goes on there. And like anyone who follows Andrew, even if it's not an in-person debate, could see just how insane some of this stuff could get. He was going to debate that Roma lady, and you can see what happened there. It's like November 10th. He's like, great, sounds good. Then she's like, he wouldn't settle on a date. That's the sort of bullshit you deal with in good circumstances. In good circumstances, it's tough to get people on the same page. There's miscommunication. And in real life, all of that's magnified. Why are people coming to DebateCon? Well, there's two reasons. The first reason is because they want to see the people that are debating there. And so the bigger the name you have, the better, right? You if it's just, Joe Schmo, that you've never heard of, Catholic versus Joe Schmo you've never heard of Muslim, probably not going to get a big amount of interest in that. But if it's big names, Andrew Wilson's going to be. So that's number one. You're coming to see the debates, and you hope that it's talented and big name people. But number two is, it's the same reason you're going to TwitchCon. It's the connections. It's the environment. It's the party. It's hanging out with people that you have like-minded interest in. Hey, there's that guy I always talk to on the Crucible chat. There he is in person. Hey, there's Jim Bob. I've seen him. That's cool. I can sit down and have dinner with him and talk to him. And the left, it's going to be difficult because they don't have that sort of. They're in their own little bubble. They have their own little group.
Sure.
And so it's difficult to entice them in like that. Now, I think that it'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy. If DebateCon kicks ass, if it gets huge numbers, then next year, lefties are going to be like, well, let's just take a random name.
Now it's a must attend, right?
Right. Let's take a random name, like Dean Withers, right? Dean has no interest in going to DebateCon this year. Why would he, right? But if DebateCon blows up and it's like, holy shit, they had, 500 people in person, and these videos that they put up are getting, hundreds of thousands of millions of clicks, and everyone's talking about this. Well, now, next year, when I get the offer to debate someone, maybe previously I would have said no, but now I'm going to be like, this is a big platform. I'm going to go to that. So I do think that it's a little bit of growing pains, but I'm hoping that it's going to be an amazing atmosphere. People are going to have a blast. Word of mouth is going to be fantastic, and there's going to be a lot of really good debates. And hopefully that then springboards it into the next event. That momentum keeps rolling until we're talking 2-3 years from now. This is a must do. And you could be talking about people like huge names, like people like Piers Morgan or Cenk or people like that saying, hey, this isn't just modern day DebateCon. This is the event for people that do these sort of online debates. And we got to be there. And I think it'll take a couple years, but if everything runs right, this could certainly be a good momentum building and a stepping stone to that. So,
yeah, no, I agree with you. I actually I'm glad we talked about all that. I actually, the thing I wanted to talk to you about is I did the Reverie the other day, right? Monday.
Prime K show.
The subject, Prime K.
Is that what? Yeah, I never know. I always mispronounce it. It's not in person. Like, I called Pisco for years, and I legitimately thought that was his name.
Right.
And people are like, oh, good insult. I was like, huh?
Right.
I always called Prime K's. It's spelled Cayes. It sounded like a long A, but whatever. I guess I is AYE.
Yeah.
It does spell I. Anyways,
so,
neither here nor there.
I did the show the other night, and the topic was supposed to be all of these stupid TikTok challenges, especially the one lately in New York and some of the other bigger cities where people are jumping onto subway trains that are moving.
Oh shoot, I haven't seen this. Yeah,
and people, and I guess a couple of people have died, and so this was another example of where Prime makes this topic, but we never got there because his pre-topic was about Trump and the National Guard, and I'm going to talk about that a lot today. But and so it's like really in my mind, and we had this really. It started out as a pretty decent discussion, and it turned into basically just this ever escalating. Well, what if a state made marrying underage girls legal? Would you want to send in federal troops then because to force them to change that law? And it was just such a bad argument that.
Well, here's the thing, right?
Such a bad argument.
Oftentimes what you want to do is get like a baseline for an argument, right? So like if we talk about like government power or government authority, right? Like one baseline would be like total complete authoritarianism. You as an individual has no say in your life whatsoever. Literally the government in every instance of your life tells you exactly what you could do, right? And then the opposite of that would be like absolutely no government. You could literally do whatever you want and there's no enforcement of anything, right? Most of us fall somewhere in between that. So what oftentimes you're trying to do in a discussion is like, well, let's get let's get an area of agreement. We could agree like, yes, in this case, we could see the government intervening, right? So for example, like the example I might use is like, if we had a governor that was just like, you know what, we're just going to lynch black people. Right. Could the National Guard be sent in? Probably. Most people would say like, yeah, it's fucking crazy. Like you could probably send the National Guard in that sense. Great. Right. Then what would the opposite end of that be? Like if you wouldn't say the National Guard could always be sent in, right? Like if there was a dispute on sort of,
and that's where I was at. I was like, look, you don't send the National Guard in for everything.
There's like gerrymandering. A particular state wants to redraw their maps, and Trump's just like, nah, dog, we don't like that. We're sending in the National Guard to make sure you can't do that. That's fucked up. We would be like,
right. But if he said, hey, we're cutting off all your federal funding for highways and roads until you fix this shit. That's reasonable, right?
That's different. And again, it would depend on what the issue was.
Sure.
Like if the issue's like, if Trump's just like, hey, Gavin Newsom put a meme up about me, and I don't like that, so no more federal funding to California until that meme's taken down. Well, that'd be too much, right?
Obviously. I use the example of Colorado. Trump told Colorado, do not go to mail-in only voting. Don't do it. They did it. So what did he do? He moved Space Force to Alabama, took away $1 billion or so in funding out of Colorado's economy. A lot of jobs, a lot of everything. And it makes the governor look like a complete moron because he promised all of these jobs. He worked so hard, air quotes, that to bring that there. And now Trump's saying in one stroke, says, nope, we're not going to do it. Yeah, well, 30,000 jobs. Yeah.
So for me, like the general idea is what they want to do is like they want to like, well, what if Trump decided to send in the National Guard for this, that, and the other? Yes, if the answer that you're trying to get is, are there hypothetical situations where I would say, wow, that's an abuse of power, we can't do that? Sure, of course, I would say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the idea that that means that then all of a sudden we have to be like, well, therefore, the situation that's occurring now because of these absurd hypotheticals is something that we should condemn. Look, I think it's imminently, there's two things going on simultaneously. One, the lawlessness that we see, where we just allowed millions of people in against the will of the people with the Biden administration, and that basically Democrats and establishment Republicans have allowed these people to be here illegally for so long, is absurd. And unfortunately, what happens is there's always more pain trying to correct an issue than if you would have just not allowed that issue to exist in the first place.
Right.
And so, yeah, it sucks. Like the person in me with a soul that's a human that would see, let's assume my neighbor's an illegal that is legitimately, is illegal and should have came the right way, but they're trying to send money back home for their daughter with disabilities.
Right.
I sympathize at a human level with that person. Just like I would sympathize if it's not an illegal, but they're stealing $500 a week from their corporate bank that they work at. I also sympathize with that if that money's like, my God, I'm trying to pay for my daughter's healthcare treatments.
Right.
It's still a crime. It still
Right.
needs the law. I'm not going to call the cops on this person, but, so I have a heart. The problem is that it's millions upon, most of the people aren't in that situation.
Right.
And there's millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of them. And now we're talking, I mean, we don't have any clue how many illegals are in this country.
Mm-hmm.
10 million, 20 million, 30 million. We have no clue. And so now that we're trying to fix this problem that was intentionally allowed to fester for years, right? I mean, this is straight out of Saul Alinsky, right? Where he's like, make them live by their rule book. Because the rules are, no one could live by their own rule book totally. So if the rule is, the example Saul Alinsky gives is, if their rule is you have to respond to every question with a letter, then send 1 million questions.
Right.
And then when they can't send 1 million letters back, you go, hypocrite, you monster, you're not abiding by the very rules that that's what illegal immigration was. Oh, well, we're going to set up all these rules. It's like, and so like when I talk to these people, they're like, well, if we did things the right way in attempting to deport them, it would roughly take 30 to 35 years. It's going to cost huge amounts of money. So I guess we just throw up our hands and say, well, there's nothing we could do now. There's not, and that's what they want. They've intentionally lied to us to create this problem because it's something they wanted. And by the way, listen to Chuck Schumer. Yes, they do want to give these people amnesty. Yes, they do want to give them a pathway to citizenship. Yes, it does benefit them electorally when they count the illegals in the census, right? And so now they're like, oh, well, it would be a shame if you tried to do anything about it. It would be, oh my goodness, it would be hectic and it would be, mistakes would be made. And so we just better not do it. It's going to cost a lot of money.
And that's what we see is they're attacking ICE. They're protesting. They're trying to make it as hard as possible to do it so they can point at it and go, see, you failed. You couldn't make it happen.
Right. So given that, number one, yes, I do think that we should send federal law enforcement to try to deal with this. But more importantly, and to the point is, the federal law enforcement's there because the local law enforcement refuses to cooperate or do their job. And we see massive attacks on federal agents. Yes, our National Guard absolutely can be deployed to protect federal buildings and federal agents. Absolutely, particularly when local law enforcement's unwilling to do the job, like we saw in Chicago. So, what's the problem? Now, I said this way back when the riots first started in LA. I said, here's what we should do. We should send in the National Guard to literally just be the escort for ICE. Let ICE round up people during the day, every day, round up 500 people, and then at night, pull ICE back into the federal facilities and have the National Guard there and let them riot. If they want to burn LA to the ground and Gavin Newsom wants to sit there and go, yay, this is great, we have it under control, so be it. Burn it down. Let the local people say, enough is a fuck enough. What is going on? Why will the mayor of LA refuse to enforce the law? Why is Gavin Newsom refusing to enforce the law? Make them beg. I would do it every day, and that's what I would do in Chicago. Don't deploy the National Guard. There's people protesting in Portland outside the ICE facility. Send in the National Guard, lock them all up, throw away the fucking key. Give them the maximum sentence, whatever it is. Give them the January 6 people treatment. That's the standard that's been set, right? Give them that treatment. Pursue them to the fullest extent of law. Other than that, let fucking the city burn. If they say, oh, we can't go outside the ICE facility anymore, so we'll get arrested, so we're going to go 2 blocks over and loot and pillage, have at her. I wish the people of Portland well. If you're a reasonable person and you live there and the elected officials have basically decided to get in bed with Antifa, I'm sorry, move. I don't know what to say.
Right.
It's a lost cause. I literally don't know what to say. So I do not see the problem with deploying the National Guard to protect federal assets and agents. The truth is, because they don't like the mission of ICE, they want these. I keep going back to this. It's really is. It's Destiny put this as succinctly as possible, and this is truly what the vast majority of Democrats believe. Like, not a big substantial minority. I mean more than 50%. More than 50% believe what Destiny said. We want conservatives to fear for their lives to be in public. That's how they feel about ICE agents. It's not necessarily that they want you killed. It's they want you to be silent, to not vote for someone like Trump, to not support these detentions and deportations, because if you start speaking up in support of these, then you're afraid someone might kill you. It's not necessarily they want you dead. It's that they want you to fear that you will be attacked.
Yeah.
They want you to fear that you'll be doxxed. They want you to fear that you'll be swatted, right? They want you to fear that your life will be fucked up if you continue to support these political positions. And Destiny was spot on with that. I mean, he's a piece of shit.
100%.
But he's spot on. And so why, for example, while ICE agents are being attacked is Hakeem Jeffries and Gavin Newsom's big issue, let's make sure these ICE agents take their masks off. And we're going to go after these people after Trump's out of office and find out each and every person and who they were. Well, because they know that these agents will be harassed, that their families will be harassed, that they'll be attacked, and they want that. They want these ICE agents thinking, oh shit, if the other side comes into power, they're going to disclose that I was in ICE and that I may have been apprehending people and where I live and all this shit, and people come after me. I better not do it. I better not do it because they'll come after me. That's what's going on. And so fuck those people. And I'm tired of pretending these people are in good faith that we're arguing against. They don't give a fuck about the rule of law. They didn't give a shit about like the abuse. Have you heard one of them talk about the fact that like 8 Republican senators were looked into, like their communications were looked into under the previous administration? No, of course not. Or about Tulsi Gabbard being on a no-fly list? Nah, of course not. Or the treatment of parents at school board meetings by the FBI? Nah, of course not. Or the fact that they went after Catholics? Nah, of course not. Fuck them. They don't care. And what they've done is they set up a system that they know is culturally, there's all this money behind it, and the culture and the establishment mechanisms and the institutions that were behind it that wanted things like mass immigration that the majority of people didn't want, a mass illegal immigration. And now they're saying like, well, you have to abide by your rule book, and we're going to make nuanced arguments why your rule book doesn't apply here. Fuck you. The Supreme Court said that so far it's on the up and up.
Well, well, the state courts are saying it too. So in my state of Tennessee, our governor just agreed with our state attorney. Our state attorney originally said that according to Tennessee's constitution, which says that the governor can only deploy National Guard under a few certain circumstances, and what's going on in Memphis doesn't actually rise to that. Now that's what he originally said, but after he reviewed case law and actually looked into it, he no, actually the governor absolutely can choose to deploy the Tennessee National Guard, and if he wants to do it, he absolutely can. And so that's what's happening right now as we speak, is the Tennessee National Guard's headed to Memphis, probably already there. Now the thing, Rob, I think that and I've made this point to Prime and all of these other guys, when they go in to take care of like Portland or Chicago or Washington, they're not taking over a city. Like in Memphis, it's about 8 or 10 blocks that are really the hot zone, right? The trouble, where all the drugs are, where all the gangs are exist, and the meth cookeries and all that kind of stuff. So they're going after those specific targets. And it's not just ICE, it's all of these. all of these different police organizations, and they do need the backup of the National Guard. And I think that the Democrats are being the ultimate in bad faith. I kept asking the other night, kept asking Prime, I understand everything you guys are saying. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand your point. My question is still, it remains, why, if you're so concerned about the legality of Trump using the National Guard, do you not want, and so obviously you're really concerned with crime, why do you not care about crime in these areas? Why is it that you don't want to back up the cops? Why is it that you want to have ICE agents unmasked? Why is it you want all of these things that enable criminality, enable bad behaviors, and enable unrest, civil unrest? And you guys are the ones that are always talking about how you want everyone to get along, and you're the party, the Democrats are the party of love, and
because law enforcement's racist, and the truth is
right.
they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. They sit there and they pretend to care about this stuff. They
pay
don't
lip
care.
service to
They'll
it.
talk about like sort of systemic racism. The number one cause of like actual violence against black people is other black people in the inner city. But when you try to talk about that, they say you're racist for talking about it, right? They'll say something like, when you point out that 13% of the population commits 50% of violent crimes, that's racism because you're talking about the perpetrators and they happen to be black. Right. My counter to that's like, well, who are the majority of the victims of those crimes? Also black people. So why are we not allowed to talk to 50% of violent crime victims because they happen to be black? I'm not allowed to talk about them. I'm not allowed to try to get justice for those victims if their perpetrator's black. Well, then, sorry, excuse me, black lady whose son was trying to go to school and was shot in gang violence. Sorry, we can't address your situation because it may have been a black perpetrator. So we can't talk about it. So they don't give a shit. They don't care about safety in these communities. Well, what they care about is actually using it. Only one thing matters to them. Orange man bad. That's it. Mm-hmm. Whatever issue can go to take down the orange man, it's bad. They'll pretend to care about free speech. They didn't care when Democrats were pressuring social media companies to censor people. They said it was perfectly fine. They'll pretend to care about gerrymandering. They didn't care when the left wing was gerrymandering. Didn't give a shit about that. They pretend to care about kids in cages. They didn't give a shit when there were more kids in cages under Joe Biden. Each and every single issue, they don't give a fuck. No, or rather, they might give a shit somewhat, but the highest goal is orange man bad. That's it. Yeah. And it's the same when the orange man's gone, it'll be someone else. It doesn't matter. They don't give a fuck about solving crime. They pretend that the crime's not bad. Just like they didn't give a shit about cheap groceries for you, they pretended that the economy was good. Just like they didn't give a shit about the border being unsecure, they pretended that the border was secure.
Oh, but, yeah, absolutely.
I'll give you the last word, but I got a bunch of other callers to get to. But go ahead, you can have the last word, Grid.
Oh, no worries. So I agree. I think that the Democrats right now are being the ultimate in bad faith, but they always are. What I guess where I was eventually going to end up here is, to me, the Democrats, the leftists, the moderates, the moderate left, whatever you want to call them, they're the ultimate in bad faith because without the things that they endorse and sort of champion, the world is a much better place. If we don't say, well, you can't say it's because of black people or white people, whatever. If you can't say that, or nobody tells you that, well, you can't say that and that you're wrong, then the problem gets identified and it gets taken care of. And there's just these people are insane as near as I can tell. And they absolutely need the world to be horrible so that people come to them for the answers, and they're the ones that start it in the first place. And with that, I'm going to go. I got to start my show. I actually need more coffee.
No,
well,
great. It's always great to hear from you, man.
Yeah, man. I actually need to give you a call at some point. I've been slacking, man. I've been very busy, and but I'll get a hold of you sometime this week. I don't know what your schedule is, so
next week will be better. This week, I'll be gone all day doing a field trip thing. So.
Whatever. Matter of fact, you've got my number. Just text me when you have time, and if we can make it work, we'll make it work. You guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your show, and I'll be doing mine. And you have a great day.
All right, thanks so much, man. Super chats. Cody, thanks so much, my friend. $10 says, "Morning, Rob. More of my pagan money for the tithe. Love you, bro. Stay well." Also, I said your car problem sounded like an alternator issue before it ever went into the shop. Just saying. Well, it's not in the shop, yes. And I don't know that it's the alternator, but I would assume that it is. Because we jumped it and it ran fine. And I did everything you're supposed to do. You run it for you leave the cables hooked for a while. Then you drive it around. I drove it for 45 minutes, didn't shut it off. As soon as I came back, shut the car off. It's dead. Completely dead. No electric to it. So it sounds like an alternator to me as well. But no, you're right. You did say that. Lesson sell $5. The oversight was supposed to be yesterday with Dan Clancy from Twitch, but apparently they couldn't do it, so it's been postponed. No date has been announced yet. Okay, well that answers my question. And then Beatrix, thank you so much, Beatrix Rumford, for becoming a member. Really appreciate it. Now to the rest of you heathens, my goodness, only at 8% of our goal. 50 minutes into the show, and here I am like a pirate with one eye. I don't know what's going on. Something in my eye. It's not painful. It's just, I can't read. Like I'm squinting to see everything. It's annoying more than anything. But I'm here suffering for you. And we only have $30 on the dono bar. My goodness. My absolute goodness. It's all right. I trust you all. If you don't have money to send, you don't have money to send. Now I know my mods don't want me to say this, but I'm still going to do this show even if you don't send money. It's okay. But you should send money. I would appreciate it. So, all right. Next caller we have. I'm going to keep saying, make sure you're sending money in. Send the money in. I'll start doing this. This is what I'll do. Oh, now you feel terrible, huh? Huh. Then I put up, oh, look at that. You can send a PayPal at robnoerr. Or you can send a Cash App at $robnoerr. Does this guy suck? Oh, no, not that one. Not that one. Oh, shit. All right, next up we got Fallen Heathen. What's up today, my friend? How you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself? Sounds like you got an eye issue.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I probably got a fuzz, something fuzzy in my eye from sleeping.
You know what? My dog has something going on with her eye. We need to take her in. We looked it up last night. It's like I don't know, some sort of melanoma or something. How the WebMD is. With your alternator situation, next time go out there, jump it, fire it up, and take the battery cables off. If it dies with the battery cables off, it's the alternator. If it stays running with the battery cables, you know what I mean. The alternator will keep it running with no battery. But if it dies, then it's the alternator. But if it stays running, it's not the alternator. It sounds like you got a bad battery.
Well, here's the question I have. My battery in this car, it's so absurd. I'm capable of changing a battery, but I don't know in this car because it's one of those ones, it's a 2013 Dodge Journey where the battery's behind the wheel well. So then there's a place, like terminals up top, but I don't know if that would have the same effect. Like a normal car, you take the terminals off, and I get it, but I don't know if whatever it is that I could get access to under the hood would operate the same way as taking the terminals off directly from the battery.
Just take the ground terminal off. So the alternator charges the battery, and if the battery's dead, the alternator will keep the car running. So if you take the battery terminals off and it's not getting power from the battery and it stays running, that means the alternator's still good.
Well, I'll tell you this much. One thing I'm going to do is take it to the damn dealership and trade it in at some point. So yeah, I'll be okay for now. I got one car that's running. So.
Yeah, you shouldn't be driving a Dodge anyway.
There you go. See,
go get yourself a Toyota.
A Toyota. That's so. I got a Subaru. It's my wife's car. I don't know what I'll get. I'll probably end up with a Chevy, and I'll tell you why. Now that I have a little more money, though, I don't know what's this dono bar at. Maybe not. Look at this shit. I'm just joking. When I was doing debate in college and I qualified for the national debate tournament, the town I grew up in was called New Bethlehem. It's a small town, and I live like 20 minutes away from it now. And the university I went to is about 20 minutes away from it. But I qualified for the national debate tournament, and it was big news at my school. But that's about it. It's like, I'm one of the best debaters in the country, or at least qualified for basically the equivalent of the NCAA basketball tournament. I qualified for it. And that was pretty much it. It's not like anyone gave a shit locally other than like a couple people at the university. And I'm driving through New Bethlehem, a week before I go to this tournament, and the local car dealership, Red Bank Chevy, who I know in the slightest tangential ways, the people that run it, I've met them once or twice. On their sign, it's got a big sign that says, "Congratulations, robnoerr, qualified for the national debate tournament." And that was, 20 years ago. And I told myself then, if I ever get money, that's where I'm buying a car. Because I thought that was pretty fucking cool. They didn't contact me or anything. They just did that. So, now I assume how dealerships are. They'll have cars other than just Chevys.
Hopefully they have a Toyota on the lot.
Maybe they will. So, but that's where I'm gonna go because I thought I'll always remember that, and I thought I'll probably end up spending an extra $9,000 on that. No, I don't know. I assume they're a reasonable dealership, but yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So,
right on. Well, talking about all this ICE stuff, you know, I easily could have been sucked into all that stuff when I was younger. You know, I wouldn't say necessarily Antifa, but I was always looking for trouble. And I just wonder how many of these kids are out there. They don't really have any kind of political leanings as much as they're just wanting an excuse to be violent and lash out. And you know what I mean?
yeah, I think that's a lot of it. It's LARPing. A lot of it's like the consequences. They don't even view the consequences. It's literally like, you know, they feel that this is the March on Selma. Like that this is their moment in history. They don't like there's this idea that it's like, you know, I'm the hero in my own story. Yeah. You know, I'm not some fucking loser that lives in a basement that doesn't have a lot of social friends that you know, that's sort of an outcast. No, I'm a hero. And there's this great evil empire, right? And I'm the fucking rebels from Star Wars and Donald Trump's Darth Vader or Emperor Palpatine, and I'm going to fight him, right? And they don't think it through. They think of it like a movie, like we win. You know, I'm not going to be Porkins. I don't know how familiar you are with the first Star Wars, but you know, I'm not going to be I'm not going to be Porkins, you know, the guy that gets killed attacking the Death Star. No, I'm Luke. I'm Luke Skywalker, man. Nothing bad will happen to me. The bullets will fly by and I'll charge in and I'll be the hero. Like that's how they look at it. And that's why you see, like, when one of them gets arrested, they fucking break down. They're like, what the fuck just happened? How can I be arrested? What do you mean I'm looking at 4 years? Now, luckily for them, the institutions protect them constantly. So they're sort of right. But imagine, like they don't know. They don't look at it like through a lens of like real life. They look at it like we are heroes in our own story. And this is how I'm meaningful. Your life, you know, being a parent and working a 9 to 5, that's fucking bullshit. That's just helping the man. That's helping the bad guys. What I'm doing, you know, getting high every day and hanging out with my friends and, you know, having my cool dance party while I'm wearing a frog suit and attacking ICE agents. That's hero shit. That's what history will remember. I will be the person. I'm doing it. I'm the fucking dragon slayer. That's how they look at it. And it's truly insane. It really is.
Yeah, you know, when I was younger, I was always getting in trouble and I always got bailed out. The unfortunate part is my parents would always bail me out. My aunt was a paralegal, so I always had an attorney to show up to court for me and bail me out and stuff. And that's kind of, these kids are getting away with it. And had this stuff been going on when I was younger, I easily could have gotten sucked into this crap and been a part of it, which makes me think is like, how do we reach these kids? They're obviously troubled, right? You know, they need some sort of guidance or some sort of a purpose, you know what I mean? And like you said, you know, becoming a father and then, you know, working a 9 to 5 and stuff. That's when I finally got a purpose and I quit getting in bar fights and quit, you know, throwing rocks through windows and stop getting in trouble and getting arrested like I was when I was younger. But I think these kids are just bored. They play too many video games, watch too many fantasy movies like that. And they're just getting brainwashed into thinking they're fighting the evil empire. And we need to reach them and to prevent, you know, them from even going down that road.
So there's two things to say about this. How do we reach these kids specifically right now? You can't. They're done. Prison. That's how you reach it. I mean, I'm sorry. It's literally that. You're not going to walk into Antifa and be like a tent in Portland, be like, let's have a serious conversation here. And then be now there will be members of them that eventually will grow out of it. But by and large, there's no talking. There's nothing you could say. I mean, they legitimately would feel like we could use maximum violence against you just for disagreeing with us, and it's totally morally justified. So the way that you change these people's mind is prison. That's what you do.
Last time I got arrested, my wife was like, told my aunt, don't you fucking bail him out this time. Let him cook. And that sucked.
Yeah, that's at
the time I was using, so I was going through withdrawal, locked up in jail, and it was pretty awful.
Yeah. So that's all I have to say about these particular young people. you go after their funding and shit like that. Start to hold people accountable. Now, in general, though, how do you prevent kids from ever getting into this point? Well, two things. One, you have to have opportunities for young people, right? And like we currently have a system that doesn't give a shit. The middle class is eroding. We're continually going closer to the haves and the have-nots. And so that means a bunch of policies that are, in my opinion, big, large government policies that say the only way to be successful in life is to live off the government teat. Right now, it is more profitable for most people in my neighborhood to get government benefits than to work. It's the truth. If you can somehow claim a disability check, you're doing better than if you're punching the clock 9 to 5. That's just the truth of it. And until we change that, you're going to see groups of young people that continue to go down this path. And what happens? Idle hands are the devil's work. So if you don't have meaningful work, if it's more profitable and the government's paying you to sit on your ass at home, you're going to get up to shit. That's what's going to happen. So that's number one. The other thing is that we have to get back into academia and culture, and that's going to take generations. It's just going to take generations. As long as it's cool, as long as everyone you go to teach you in these schools are teaching you in a path that's like, yeah, these are the values that you should embrace, that we see, these woke values, these conservatives are evil fascist values. As long as that occurs at every educational level, and, all the shit, white people are bad, trans shit, DEI, all this shit, as long as that continues to happen, and we have an entertainment industry that's glorifying that same message. What chance do you have if you're a young kid that grew up in Portland? What chance do you have? If your parents aren't instilling values in you, from the moment you went into school, you had some radical lefty teacher from K through 12 teaching you. Then if you go to college, it's even more radical people. Any person that you would look up to, your athletes, your singers, your Hollywood actors, they're pushing the same bullshit. All of your politicians in a place like Portland or Seattle, they're pushing the same bullshit. So how would you know any different? And when you see, it's almost it's very similar to when you would hear about inner city gangs. And let's say you're 11 years old and you're really trying. You're an inner city black kid in Compton, and you're trying real hard. You're going to class and you're trying to do the right thing, and you're just getting the shit beat out of you, and people are calling you a nerd and whatever. And then who do you see in your life on a daily basis? So you're like, holy shit, they've escaped this. The drug dealer. The gangbangers, look at that. Look at their life. They got respect. They got money. That's what I want to be. That's the role model that I see. I'm like, yes, you're not looking at the guy that's working 2 jobs to feed his 3 kids. You're like, fuck that. What status does he have? And by the way, it's not limited to just inner city blacks. Go watch an old, a Bronx Tale or one of these mafioso movies, Goodfellas, right at the beginning of Goodfellas, where he's explaining being a kid. And he's like, oh, man, I looked at these mobsters, and it was like, that's it, man. That's what I want to be with my life. Look at the prestige. Look at the respect that they get. Well, that's what's going on with so many of these young kids with this left-wing shit. Who wants to be a right-winger? Now, I think that, Johnny, who was it? Was it, Johnny Rotten. What's his real name? I can't remember. He was from the Sex... What's that? Yeah. James...
I'll say that punk rock dude.
Yeah, James Liefeld, I think's his real name. I remember in 2016, he said to be punk now is to be a Trump supporter, because punk used to be anti-authority, and now the authority's all left wing, and so it's one of the anti-culture things that you could do now is dress nice, get a job, be fit, get married, have kids. That's counterculture now. Because the culture is so the opposite way. So I think that what we do is you have to, there's no easy bullet. It's going to take 30, 40 years, right? As we tried to win elections, these people were like, we're going to take over academia. We're going to take over the entertainment industry. We're going to take over culture. And they did. And we're still, the pendulum started to swing in the slightest way, but make no mistake about it. They still have culture. Name me a big cultural icon that you consider sort of centrist or right wing. How about professional football? Who's doing the halftime show? Oh, that's right. Bad Bunny. Already out there saying, you got to learn Spanish. Fuck you if you don't know Spanish. Blah, blah, blah. All the LGBT shit that he's pushed. They're so good. These radical lefties are so good in saying, where are the institutions we don't control? That's where we'll go. Churches, we'll go to churches. Military, we'll go to military. Professional athletics, we'll go to professional athletics. Video gaming, we're going to go to video gaming. Comic books, we're going to take over comic books. There will be, you like doing tabletop gaming? It used to be this sort of for dudes, nerds and shit. We're going to take that shit over too. We'll take it all. And they did. They were largely successful and continue to be so. It's a mistake to think that they won't be. So is it any surprise that young people grow up when that's all they see? Every interest they have is dominated by radical left-wing ideology that's telling them that people like me is a fascist? Is it any wonder that when they have no opportunities, right, and they end up as sort of social outcasts that they lump together and say, here's something to give my life meaning. These evil fucking fascists, I'll fight against them. I'm going to attack this ICE agent, and that gives my life meaning. I'm not surprised. So it's going to take decades at best. And the fight will never be over because the problem is as you start to get back into this, you become complacent. We're already complacent. Need I remind you, if I talk to my audience almost a month ago now, you know, the day after Charlie Kirk assassinated, we'd be like, we'll never forget. This moment we won't forget. We won't forget these lefties. We've largely moved on. It's been 1 month.
Yeah, the same thing.
I mean, it's fucking insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how quick people like forget about things. And it's just like everything though, right? Same thing with working out and eating right. You know, a month later, you're like, a bag of chips ain't so bad. And then all of a sudden you're right back to where you started. And yeah, you're right. You know, I've been thinking about that a lot now that I'm not doing, you know, welding, fabricating as a full-time job. It's like I need to use that skill set to start like some sort of program or something and get kids interested in the trade and like to try to help direct them in the right direction. Like that's part of my channel is like I was a total fuck up. I was a total one of these kids who eventually turned his life around and is now, you know, has a family and, you know, trying to do things right. And it is possible and we got to cut it off before, you know what I mean? Trying to avoid all the bullshit that I went through. And a lot of these kids are going through because you're right. A lot of them will eventually grow out of it and look back and be like, fuck, I was a complete degenerate, you know?
I mean, you know, not me. I was perfect always. I'm just kidding. I was an alcoholic. I really was.
You know what? I wanted to touch on that. You always say you were an alcoholic. And I used to say the same thing about myself. But I wasn't an alcoholic. Like, I didn't need alcohol to get out of bed in the morning. I was a drunk. I just drank too much. Do you honestly think you were an alcoholic?
Well, I used to joke about that. Like, you always change the definition of what an alcoholic is to be one step worse than you, right? So, like, for me, it was like, you know, well, it's not like it's not like I'm drinking more than like 2-3 days a week. And then once it was like, well, you know, it's not like I drink when I'm just by myself. And then when you did, you're like, well, it's not like I need this. I don't feel like withdrawal systems if I don't. For me, I would say an alcoholic was that 3 to 4 days a week, I was drinking to get blackout drunk. Yeah, I would say that's an alcoholic. Yeah, that's basically where I was. I was functioning like I would go to, if I had a job, I was at my job every day. Even if I was hungover, I wasn't drunk at work.
Yeah, but there's functional alcoholics that drink all day at work.
Yeah. Well, I didn't drink at work. I was very good with that. I didn't drink and drive. I was always good about that. But yeah, I was drinking. If I wasn't working, I was shit-faced that night. And I wasn't like, I'll have 3 or 4 beers. It would be like, I'm going to drink a bottle of rum, and then I'm going to drink 12 beers on top of that. And I rarely did I drink alone. It was almost always a social thing, but it was my entire social life it was so habitual that like, if I'm sitting at home and I'm not drinking and a friend came over without saying a word, it was just immediately go over to the kitchen, crack a bottle, start drinking. Any friend showed up. That's what it was.
Yeah. So, you know, I started realizing it was an issue. Like every time I would either tell a story or like, hey, let's go fishing tomorrow. Like, cool, let's go grab, you know, an 18 pack and then go fishing. Hey, let's go dirt bike riding tomorrow. Cool, let's go grab some beers and then we'll go riding. And everything like revolved around getting alcohol first. And then like one of my buddies I worked with, we used to work a lot in Palm Springs, which was like an hour and a half drive. And we'd get an 18 pack and we'd crush the 18 pack on the drive home and then stay up till 3 a.m. playing darts in my garage, drinking, and get up and go to work and do it all again the next day. And I was like, yeah, this is a serious
But I was never like, people were saying stories like Joseph Romano says, my dad was sober for 7 years, tasted mouthwash, drank the bottle of mouthwash, went out and got wasted. It's not like that for me. I was never like, I didn't have physical withdrawals. It wasn't like that, you know, if I'm out doing a work thing, like I was debate coach, right? So if I was out doing like something and like there's the president of the university, I wasn't like, oh my God, they got a glass of wine and I'm sitting there like this, you know, jittery. It wasn't like that. I was perfectly fine not drinking. I never felt
that like. But it'd be funner if you did have a drink.
Right. But
Yeah.
as soon as it was my obligations through work or through some family obligation was over, every waking moment was like, well, let's drink.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, I started to realize like I was almost incapable of like hanging out with friends. If I went to visit my friend, I immediately, the first thought in my mind was like, well, where's the liquor store? What are we going to drink tonight? So people use the term alcoholic to mean different things. I don't think that, and it wasn't like for me, it's like, well, how did you get out of it? Well, because I don't know that I had as much as a physical dependency as much as it was psychological. So for me, the way I got out of it was simple. I met my wife, and like she was younger. She was, in fact, the first time I'd met her, right? But the first time I really like talked to her and we set up that we were going to go on a date was literally her 21st birthday. I was 26. She was 21. She's at the bar and I'm talking to her. So it's not that she didn't drink, but she didn't drink like me. But when we first started dating, we go out to the bar a lot with mutual friends, right? Like, that happened. But as we started to get more serious, I realized like, oh, I'm having fun with you without drinking. I don't need to, and then it would become, okay, I'd still drink here and there, but you go out with my old friends and my girlfriend would come with me and, hey, you want to do shots? I'm good. I'll have a beer. I'll sip on a beer. No problem. And then they're like, what are you doing? That's another thing. When you're like a big drinker like that, like, your friend, I don't know what it is. It's something subconscious in people. They don't want you to stop, right? Because
misery loves company.
They,
dude.
I feel
lost
like
so many friends when I quit drinking.
Yeah, and it's like
you guys
they
are
feel
never
like
really
you're
my friends if we can only hang out if we're fucking hammered.
Yeah, and they feel like you're judging them if you're not drinking. So it's like, who do you think you are? You think you're better? Have a drink, you piece of shit. And it's like, no, I'm not judging you. Do what the fuck you want. I don't care. Yeah. And then it became not a lot, but I had a group of friends that were like, well, it's because your girlfriend won't let you. My wife, to this day, my wife would be like, you want to go out and get wasted? I don't give a fuck. Don't be driving drunk. Don't piss away all our money. Be safe.
But bitch.
Well, yeah. And so, and that was just with alcohol. I can imagine what it's like if you're a junkie, like if you're doing heroin or meth or crack or something like that, because the chemical dependency of that's so much more intense. And if you also have that social pressure aspect of it, that's why, one thing I truly believe without ever having gone through that, but just with alcohol, if you're really looking to like cut yourself off or something like that, like if you're addicted to heroin, one of the first things you need to do is you can't hang out with the same social group that was enabling that. You can't.
That was one of the reasons why we moved out of California. Was surprisingly, I had dealers that would call me like, "Hey, dude, I haven't heard from you in a month. Where you been?" type things. And I was like, we need to get away from this. Like everywhere I drove, in town, I'm like, fuck, I used to pick up from right here with that guy all the time. And just all these memories come up and stuff. And you need a complete change.
Even now, there's one or two friends that were like some of my best friends with drinking. Like if I see them maybe like once every 2 years, and if they're in town, we're probably getting drunk. Yeah. And I don't think it's a big deal because all of us know it's like this is a one-time event, but it is weird. So I can imagine. Now, alcohol, it's not so bad, but what if it was heroin? What if it was meth?
Here's the thing: is heroin is so addictive because your brain produces opiates, so it has that chemical dependence. Alcohol and benzos, like Xanax and stuff, are the two ones that you'll actually die from in withdrawal. You can have seizures and die. Like some people that are complete alcoholics, if they cut cold turkey, you can have a seizure and die. Yeah, if you ever want to have like a conversation about, addiction and stuff like that, I'd love to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk to you something. I'll let you go here today. We got other callers on, but it's always a pleasure, man. Go ahead. Yeah, I'll give you the last word. I'm still fighting with my eye here. I'm sorry. I'm a little off kilter fighting.
I know you can hear it in you're congested too, like that.
Yeah.
You're breathing. Just to update, yesterday I ended the call on talking about my wife's coworker husband that got arrested. Turns out he's getting deported back to like El Salvador or whatever. He's been in the country since 2008. They got married in 2013, but just a couple of years ago, he paid for a pardon to get pardoned to stay in the country. And, my wife and I kind of got in the back and forth. I'm like, look, he broke the law. Like I used to work with these guys. I used to work construction with these guys. They build houses. They make United States wages and build houses in Mexico and then bail and retire in Mexico. So it's hard to feel bad. I feel bad because he does have kids and stuff like that in the States, but it's hard to feel bad when you've had almost 20 years to right this ship and get your green card and become a citizen of the United States. And now you're panicking and trying to get it all done at the last minute. So it's hard. It's hard to feel bad for him.
Yeah, I totally agree. It really is. But hey, hopefully he'll enjoy life in El Salvador. Good luck to him. So.
All right, man.
All right, man. You take it easy. It's great to hear from you.
Yep.
Right. Man, this damn eye! It's so fucked up. I don't know what's going on. I can tell that there's something in it. Hopefully it comes out naturally today, or else probably this weekend I'll end up going to get my eye flushed out, which I've had to do before. But my eye is so fucked up. I'm looking and it looks like the dono bar only says $30. So I can tell my eye is really fucked up. Because there's no way, right? There's no way that the dono bar is only $30. That can't be possible. Surely it must say $300. That must be what it says in my blurry eye. So I can't really read to see. I'm assuming that's the case. Yeah, day shift's going to get shit on massively. Well, I have to punish you in some way. So how are we going to punish you? We got 10 on as the next caller, and then our good friend Avarice, and then Alley Cat. So we got callers. But I know that they'll forgive me for punishing the audience here. See, I can't get mad at them because they're contributing to the show. They're calling in. They're doing the content. I know I'm supposed to do the content, but the key is, I've learned this from other channels. The key is that I just have good people do the content for me. So I get good callers. 10's going to knock it out of the park, and I'll just sit here and go, I used to drink a lot. That's what I'll contribute to the conversation, right? Like that's the plan. So I can't get mad at them. It's the rest of you. Yeah, look at Jonathan Thorpe sends $10 and he gets it. Says, hope your eye feels better. Thank you. Thank you. But the rest of you, how shall I punish? Well, I'm going to play one of the more annoying whip songs. That's what I'm going to do for free. Level 4 Lobster, $2. Says, yep, it's your lazy eye. And everything about me is lazy, so I'm not surprised. So here we go. Let's play an insane whip song. And I'm not even going to listen to it. I'm going to go to the restroom and fill up my water container. But yeah, we're going to do this while we put the grifting song on. Enjoy this. All right, yeah, I missed it. Oh no, this is still going. We're still going. I'm gonna lose my eye. And I'll remember that this is the song that was playing when I lost my eye. You forced me to get a Diet Coke too. Are you happy? We're still going. I think that's the end, folks. No. Once is enough. Now look, see, it worked. And then I promised 10. I'll get to you here real quick. Look at this. The good Austin, thank you so much. $10 says first time donut purely for your eye because the serial eye injurer dog hair ingested allergies have her too. Feel free, matey. No punishment for me. Thanks, good Austin. Yeah, I don't know what it is. My feeling, I roll a lot in my sleep, so I think sometimes my pillow, like I get little dusties from my pillow in it. I think that's probably what's going on. I don't know. But boys, it suck. Thank you though, man. And thank you for being a first time donor. Amazing. Jonathan Thorpe, $10 for the other eye. Feeling generous today. Good. It was feeling left out. Look at this. AJC, $50. Hit the like, get your money in and subscribe. Look at this. What a Chad. Thank you so much, AJC. Always appreciate you, man. Corporate Joker, $3 says this song reminds me of Sonic music. That was the agenda to make it an 8-bit song. And then Pat Parker, I assume that's what PKR stands for. $2 says it's Darth Pat to you now. Oh, so I went downstairs and I got a little wet tissue to wipe my eye. My wife's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm punishing my audience. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, I didn't get enough donos, so I'm punishing them briefly. It's like the old adage, treat them like dirt, they'll stick like mud. And my wife's like, that's not true. And I was like, sure it is. And then I called her a mean name. And she's like, what the fuck did you just say to me? I was like, nothing, I love you. And then I ran upstairs. So now I'm probably in trouble with my wife. But I was making a point that if I'm mean to her, she'll stick with me. Doesn't work like that in the Noor household. So I'll probably be in trouble when I go downstairs. John Knowles says, here's some grift from the Crucible crew. Not one step back. I always appreciate the Crucible crew. Appreciate it. Look at that. Are We Not Men's going to fire me for playing a free whip song? Let's get to serious business. Our good friend 10. Sorry about that. Sorry I had to hassle my audience to donate money. I'm sorry to let you wait in there. How you doing today, 10? Muted. Maybe you're muted. No. Maybe you might have your wrong microphone set. Check the settings.
No.
There, I heard you.
Can we hear you? Okay.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay. So, first of all, how are you? I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. My eye's bothering me, but that's okay. It's actually a very good day other than that. So I'm in a good mood. So
good for you. So I was watching a interview with Stephen Miller, and I think he was on CNN, and they were talking about like the Illinois, like the deployment and everything.
Sure.
And he said that he was answering the question. And he said that Donald Trump under like Section 10 has plenary authority.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the interview?
I have not seen that interview, but I've not seen that interview. No, I've seen several Stephen Miller interviews, but not where he was talking about plenary authority or anything like that.
Okay, it was a very, very weird interview. I would love to get your
I'll see if I can
get your opinion on it, because it was like he was stun locked, and they went to like technical difficulties or anything like that. But my question is, like, when I see stuff like this, does any of the things that you think that Trump does, you think that it's a part of a greater plan, like, or do you think he's just rolling with the punches, or do you think this?
It's an interesting question. I think Trump. I think it's erroneous to assume that Trump is just freewheeling nonstop. And it's just like he wakes up one day and is like, fuck it, we'll do this. And there's no greater long stream agenda to it. However, having said that, I think that it's less so than maybe other administrations. I do think Trump is more of a. Trump's personality is such that he does have a bit of narcissism, which look, isn't a trait in someone that you want to be friends with necessarily, but a trait in a leader. Like let me put it this: I don't know if you're a fan of sports, but like you might want. Was Kobe a little bit of a narcissist? Was Tom Brady a little bit of a narcissist? Probably, but that's okay because they're getting you championships, right?
Absolutely.
So like,
absolutely.
and I do think that Trump views himself as this deal maker. Trump's idea on most problems is this: I'm going to get smart person A in the room that believes one side and smart people B that believes the other side. Then I'll sit there and listen to them deal it out and be like, yeah, we're going to go with something. So we're going to get Palestine in here, right? And we're going to get Netanyahu in here. And then I'm going to say, listen, both of you need to settle down. Here's what we're going to do. That's largely, I think, what Trump's about. When it comes to sort of what's going on with the deploying of ICE and stuff, I think it's a fluid situation because I think that to their shame, to the criticism of the Trump administration, I don't think they anticipated just how much pushback they would get from local law enforcement, which is a mistake because I could have predicted it. I could have predicted it.
And that's kind of like my thing. Like there's like natural things that are happening that everybody's like, oh, I couldn't have. But like it almost like is if I were to agitate people and if I were to call people and like poke their, obviously they're humans are going to human. They're going to stand up even if it's the minority, and then you capture the minority and then you blow that up and then you use that as an excuse to like when I listened to his interviews, almost like he was rehearsing for a something else to come out. Like these things, like these steps, these are what they're doing is kind of like a plan. I'm not talking about like 2025 or anything like that, but there are some overlaps that's almost like, if I were to want to take over the government hypothetically, I would have all my friends around me, all the yes men. I would have somebody in the FBI, DOJ. I am it's not like I can't do anything illegal, but you have the narrative. So you have like if I say 17 trillion, if I say you have the narrative, you have the people around you, to kind like that kind of core group that no matter what happens, they're gonna like fight. It's kind of like layers of bias of like loyalty to Trump. You have people that are just like, well, yeah, I can see that he's doing something bad, and then other people that you might need a little bit more um like evidence to be like, okay, maybe that's bad. And then I feel like you just have a set of people that no matter what he does, it's going to be great. It's going to be fine.
Well, so let me say, like, that's certainly a fear. However, the alternative's worse. What we have in the alternative is that basically the public officials you see are irrelevant. There's this great monolithical system, right? The real people that are running the government aren't actually the president. It wasn't Obama. It's the people at all of the executive agencies that actually are doing the on-the-ground authority. Obama happens to agree with their agenda. Biden happens to agree with their agenda. And so that's why you've never seen sabotage like you saw, for example, in Trump's first term, that you see from these agencies. Chuck Schumer spelled out the game. He said, we all know this, right? The FBI is an executive agency. Who is the head of the FBI? Who's the person at the tippy top? That's Trump. He's the chief executive. He's in charge of them. Now, we don't want the chief executive to be like, well, then the FBI's my plaything. It can do whatever the fuck it wants. This guy stiffed me on a real estate deal 30 years ago. FBI kick in his fucking door and harass him. We don't want that. But ultimately, we give a lot of discretion to the leader, which in this case would be Trump, should steer the direction. He is the duly elected leader, and he should steer the direction of what that agency does. Just like if you, the board of directors at a corporation votes someone the new CEO, you expect that CEO to largely have authority over the direction of the day-to-day operations of the people underneath him. Chuck Schumer admits, he's like, Trump can't criticize the FBI. He can't do that. That's stupid because they'll find 6 ways some Sunday getting back at him. And that's the truth, right? These agencies are out of control. So what happens is Trump gets into power and they're all like revolting. They're like, fuck you. We're going to continue to sabotage you in every possible way. And in fact, it's the most obvious time you could see this is when you see the first impeachment of Trump over a phone call, and they bring in these people one after another from the State Department, right? These are people in an executive agency that work after Trump, and they keep letting the mask slip. Over and over, they said this. Trump was going against our foreign policy. But who are you? What do you mean your foreign policy? You ain't shit. You don't craft the foreign policy. The elected leader of the people crafts the foreign policy. And the mechanism, if we don't like it, is impeachment, or we vote for someone else next time, right? We don't want to vote, like, for example, let's say that overwhelmingly Jon Stewart runs for president and wins 80% of the vote, right? And Jon Stewart gets in there and he's like, you know what? One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sending all aid to Israel to the best of my ability. Or rather, forget that, because that power of the purse is arguably Congress's. But what if he says this, like, I'm going to address my generals, my State Department, etc., to have a harsher bargaining tone with Israel, right? They don't get to be like, no, fuck you, President Stewart. No, we're going to do what we want. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to leak your calls. We're going to leak to the press and say what a bad person you are. And we're going to leak to our friends in the FBI so that they have reason to spy on you and to sabotage you and to investigate you. So what happened is Trump puts up with that. And then he gets elected the second term. And I still don't think he's done enough to rid himself of people. But then the alternative problem comes up where you're like, well, what happens if he just appoints a bunch of yes men? Well, from Trump's perspective, what's the alternative? If you can't appoint people that you trust to, like, actually have your back, what are you left with? If you just take from the regular pool of, like, well, the people that are career FBI agents, that's who you should promote. Great, and they're going to sabotage you. They're going to illegally spy on you. They're going to raid your home. They're going to allow your opponents to do all the crimes that they accuse you of doing. So for me, it's the exact opposite problem. It's not that Trump has too many yes men, it's that he doesn't have enough. Now, I'd rather they not be yes men. I would rather they be people that are like, Trump, we have your back, but we'll be willing to push back on it. And I do think that that exists largely. For example, if you see Peter Navarro versus Scott Bessent, I think I got the names right. I think that Navarro truly wanted tariffs for tariffs' sakes. He was just like, yeah, like tariffs, no matter what. Like, we like the revenue that comes in from tariffs. And Bessent, it's more like, listen, the tariffs are a good bargaining tool. Eventually, we want to get rid of them, and we want other countries to get rid of their tariffs, and we want good trade deals that'll benefit the United States. The tariffs are just a means to an end. And there was a big fight over those two. If it was just yes men that had both said, Mr. Trump, what do you want? Yes, we agree with you. But that's not what's really going on. I do think that Trump's ego means that the people have to tiptoe around him a little more than maybe they would me or you. But I'm not so sure that that's different than the average president. Maybe it was like that with the
really. You think that you think that Trump, he's quicker to disperse people that don't agree with him? Like, at this point, isn't everybody painted into a corner? Like, if you go against Trump, you are, and you let me know how true this is. But I've seen him, bad person. This guy is, but it's just the fact that he goes, he pushes them out of, you'll never have a career. All these things. So
well, let me put it this way. Do I think Trump's the kind of guy, if I went to work and said, hey man, let's say for whatever reason, I'm appointed to some executive agency. I'm the White House press secretary, right? So I'm the guy you see in the podium every day, giving the briefing. And I go into a meeting with Trump and I say, yeah, I think you're fucking this up, man. Or maybe I don't say it like that. I'm like, I think this is a huge mistake. I think you're misreading this situation entirely. Is there a better chance that Trump fires me than maybe Barack Obama or Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton would over Kamala Harris or George Bush? I don't know, maybe. But I'll say that risk is real. I don't know that it's more than those other people. But I think Trump's the kind of guy to be like, what did you just say to me? Huh? You're out. See ya. Instead, what happens? Yeah, I think that that's probably the way it always is. I think that unfortunately, most people, even myself included, and maybe yourself too, if you really think about it, see, I'll say things like this. I want criticism. And I do, but you can't help but have an ego, right? Of course. And so so let's say I have an editor, Black Elk. Now, I think my relationship with Black Elk's very good, but let's say Black Elk calls me and he's like, Rob, what the fuck are you doing? Like, your streams have been dog shit lately. They're just garbage. I can't even find anything to clip. What the fuck are you doing? In one hand, I want that information. But on the other hand, I might be like, man, fuck you. Start your own goddamn stream then, right? There's part of me that's like that. I'm not going to get into details, but I may have received a message the other day for people giving me, and I'm quoting, unsolicited advice. And my initial reaction was like, you motherfucker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to pull back and be like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, that's not the appropriate way to act.
Yeah.
And so is it the case that a president of the United States, by the traits that it would take you to get to that level of politics, probably mean that you'd be a little more quick on the trigger to fire someone or to kick someone out for disagreeing with you than maybe an average person? Maybe. So I don't know if it's more with Trump than others. And you might say, well, Trump's fired more people. Yeah, but I don't know how many
fired the
people.
labor statistics.
But I don't. Well, that's true. But that person was terrible. I don't know how many people, for example, look at it this way: how many people were disagreeing with Obama in his administration?
I'm not too sure.
My guess is probably around 0%. My guess is that all of them are, like, for example, the Attorney General, Eric Holder, was like, I'm Obama's wingman. And I think you had Lois Lerner at the IRS that was targeting conservative groups. Obama didn't have to tell her to do it. That's the game. They're all pushing for the same goal, right? If you had people like seriously in Obama's administration was like, no, this is a disaster. What are you doing? Like, for example, if Obama was like, you know what, we're going to pull troops out of Syria, and his generals intentionally lied to him and said, yeah, we only have 2,000 troops there, when in reality there was 3,000. So Obama signs the order that says, okay, remove the 2,000 troops. And they go, ha, 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 we left 1,000 there because we lied to Obama. He'd have probably went fucking ballistic. But that happened under Trump. And everyone's like, well, how dare Trump push back on these generals? How dare he? That's selfish. So the point I'm trying to make is, I think you're absolutely right that Trump has the personality that he would fire people for disagreeing with him. My question is that much different than the other presidents? I don't know, because these people don't want an outsider there. If you had a potential outsider like Bernie Sanders, he'd suffer the same problem. If Bernie went in and was like, he became president, was like, we will no longer have cooperation with militant governments in places like Israel, his generals would sabotage the shit out of him. And then if he was like, I don't like this, I'm firing you, you would see the exact same mainstream pundits going, oh my goodness, this guy just wants yes men around him. Because when you have a system, my core belief is that these institutions are corrupt and they're all in it together and they don't give a shit about people like me and you. And if someone outside that game comes in and says, hey, we're going to shake things up, they're going to say, no, fuck
It's
you.
a liability, yeah.
And then when you say, no, forget government. You go into a corporation, it's being ran poorly, hey, I'm going to fire a bunch of people. The argument that they're going to make is, oh, this guy just wants yes men. Look at that. He's firing everyone that disagrees with him. Well, right. He's trying to institute his vision. By the way, we can see with Biden, he fired tons of people when he first came in. And no one gave a shit. No one said, oh, he just wants yes men. Now, the other point that's worth saying here, though, is what happens with Trump is, I think that people know. And again, there's a debate to be had. I'm fully conceded if anyone's listening is like, oh, Rob's saying that Trump's the type of guy that would allow people to just be like, fuck you, you're an idiot, and keep them around. I'm not saying that, right? I'm questioning how different that is to other presidents. But what happens is people like John Bolton, people that have no interest in Trump's agenda, but they know how to kiss his ass. People like Lindsey Graham. And that works with Trump, right? Lindsey Graham don't give a fuck about MAGA. He don't give a fuck. He didn't care that there was lawfare against Trump. He didn't care that Trump's like, hey, I just want peace. I don't want to fight. That's not in Lindsey Graham's agenda. In fact, he has the counter agenda. Lindsey Graham wants it to go back to business as usual with Republican politics. He likes the Jeb Bushes. He likes the Mitt Romneys. That's what he wants, right? But he understands if he kisses Trump's ass and says, Mr. Trump, you're an amazing guy. Oh, you're doing amazing things. You're just so great. Here, you should sign this bill here to send more money to Ukraine. Then Trump will be like, okay. Now, that's a bad trait by Trump, but you see it all over the place. So, again, the question is it just Trump has yes men around him? No, I don't think so. I think that Trump, more than any president, probably definitely in my lifetime and maybe in the history of the country, has people at these institutions that fucking hate him and will intentionally sabotage him, right? And
do you think the hate is warranted at all? Like, do you think for example, just one as many questions as I can, but I don't want to hold you up. Do you think that first do you think Trump has gone against the Constitution at all, or just kind of like pushed the boundaries of it? Do you think you could say confidently, because I know you're objective and that's why I watch you, but
I'm not objective. I'm biased. I want to be clear about that. I am biased, but I attempt to limit my bias. I do.
Yes, you do. Yeah. And so do you think that like my question is, what makes you think that Trump after everything that you've seen, won't try to stop the election 2028?
Because I have
Like,
no
like,
evidence to see that he would do that. I could say the exact same thing about any litany of other politicians. What made you think that Obama wouldn't?
well, because and I always tell you I don't know this, so I look to you for the history. So I don't know, like,
Well, how
but
about Biden? You were there for Biden. What made you think that Biden would have accepted? Like,
it
what?
doesn't even cross it. I don't think it ever, because I haven't been in politics, and just even if I was, I don't think it's ever crossed my mind, because I haven't seen enough to say this might be the possibility of, like, he has, like I said before, he has the military, he has um he has people that will, whether or not he would fire them or not. You have loyalists around him, you have power, you have, like, what would make you think that he would stop everything there? He's talked about
I feel the
mailing
same way
ballots.
about Biden. I feel that Biden had loyalists around him, so why wouldn't he just say, you know what? No, I'm not going to leave office. Now, people will say, well, because of the alternate electors. There were incredibly shady things and unique things about the 2020 elections. I didn't particularly like the alternate elector scheme. Let's talk about damage to our country in the past two changes of administration. Trump has the alternate electors. There's a riot that gets out of hand on January 6th. We're told that this is a
Mhm,
perpetual threat to democracy, that it wasn't a
mhm.
peaceful transition of power. Oh my God, it's the scariest thing ever. Trump may declare himself God, Emperor, King for forever. There are people around him that seem to agree with Trump, so this means that the military would come into your house, round you up, and shoot you if you protested that Trump declares himself God, Emperor, King forever. I think it's fucking laughable. I don't even think there's a remote possibility of any of this happening. I mean, sure, I guess it's possible in the same sense that really this is all a simulation and there's aliens that are playing a video game and we're all characters in it. I suppose it has about an equal possibility of that. What
Okay,
I'll
that's
say
that's
though is if
interesting.
we
Okay.
if we evaluate alternate electors in January 6th and what that did is damage to our country versus the previous administration. So when Trump's outgoing, what's Obama do? Weaponizes his entire intel agencies to sabotage Trump for 4 years. See, the difference is, let's just do a hypothetical thought experiment. If
Mhm,
I'm right, and basically the establishment Republican and Democratic Party and all of these people in the institutions are in a big team, and they have
mhm,
disagreements about shit, right? But they're in a big team. And basically the goal of that big team is we get power. Think of it this way. There's Coke and there's Pepsi. And then Snapple's coming up, and Coke and Pepsi say, fuck Snapple. We're willing to put our differences aside to say, we don't want no third guy here. Fuck you. You're out. You're either Coke or you're Pepsi. Fuck off, anyone else, right? And Coke and Pepsi will argue about shit, but they're real happy with the status quo because they're the two big dogs and no one
yeah.
else is. That's the Republican and Democrats. They're on the same team on the important issues, right? Now here comes these potential outsiders. Here's the Green Party with Jill Stein. We don't like that. Here's the Libertarian Party with Gary Johnson. We don't like that. Here's Ross Perot before that. We don't like Ross Perot. Here's Ron Paul. We don't like him. Here's Bernie Sanders. We don't like him. Here's Tulsi Gabbard. We don't like him. Because all these people are saying things that are outside what that establishment, those two parties really want when it comes to interventionism, when it comes to bailing out big banks and all that shit. So it doesn't matter. Now you can have, hi, I'm Jim Smith. Did you ever see there's a famous Simpsons episode, right? One of the Treehouse of Horrors where it's Kodos and Kang, the two aliens, right?
I'm gonna say
And
yes, so I don't embarrass
it's a
myself. Yes, I know
it's a
I know
great
exactly what
episode,
you're talking about.
but
It's a
they're
great
basically these
episode.
two aliens that are running for president, and they unmask them. They're pretending to be humans, and they're both their agendas to subjugate the world, to take it over. And someone's like, "I'll vote third party," and the alien's like, "Go ahead, throw your vote away." Like that's
Yeah.
the you're like that's the idea here. And so if that was true, not the alien part, but if it was true that these two groups don't really give a fuck about us and they're interested in maintaining power, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden someone comes in that's outside of their control, hypothetically, what would it look like? What would they do?
I
They would
mean,
be like,
you need
we're
to
going
get
to
out of
use
here. Yeah,
every institution we
everything.
can to sabotage this person.
Yeah.
We're going to do that. So what happens is the individuals don't matter. Barack Obama is irrelevant. Hillary Clinton's irrelevant. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, they're all irrelevant. Jeb Bush, Mitt Romney, they're irrelevant because they could be interchangeable with 100 other people playing the same game in the same institutions. It does not matter who the figurehead is. It's the institution itself that's self-perpetuating. James Comey to Christopher Wray to Rod Rosenstein leading the FBI, it doesn't matter. Merrick Garland to Loretta Lynch to Eric Holder as the Attorney General, it doesn't matter. It's all continued perpetuating the same agenda, right? So what happens is they're like, we're going to utilize this awesome system to fuck over this guy that's an outsider that came in. There's going to be spying on his campaign, spying on his team once he's president. There's going to be lawfare that's constant. There's going to be constant leaks to the press. There's going to be constant sabotaging by his own agencies that he's in charge of. That's what happened. Trump's administration, the first administration, there's certainly a lot of blame to put on Trump, but he's absolutely sabotaged by all of these institutions. Absolutely sabotaged. From day one, they were already priming the he's an agent of Russia story. Like from day one. And this came straight from the top from Obama. Now compare that to January 6th, right? What did January 6th end up stymieing Joe Biden? No, quite to the opposite. He used it for the bully pulpit to say, I could do whatever the fuck I want. So now, after January 6th, what do we have? We have the federal government and by the way, Democrats in Congress and some Republicans that are pressuring or advocating for the pressuring of social media to censor anyone who had any criticism of the 2020 election immediately. Nope, can't do that. Then their allies in the media, they use this to be like, well, there's platforms that are coming up that are outside of our control, like Gab and Parler. Fuck that. Get them out of here. And they did. They kicked them off the app stores and all that. We got them out of there. And then it was the pandemic. Well, you can't criticize that. Fuck that. Let's censor people from saying that. And they did. And like, it did not matter. That, what happened, January 6th didn't hurt Biden. It didn't hurt the incoming administration. It made them stronger. And so the difference is, this is what we're supposed to be told, to wrap this all up. The same people that were fine with the treatment of Trump, the fact that he was sabotaged by almost every agency goes, yeah, but they conceded the election. Hillary Clinton conceded the election. Barack Obama had a peaceful transition of power. I mean, he sabotaged Trump for 4 years with the agents that were doing the same thing that he was on board with, which was sabotaging Trump. They did that for 4 years, but they said the words, we concede the election, and Trump didn't. So therefore, Trump may declare himself God, Emperor, King. It's an absurd farce. The God Emperor King was the institutions that were there in perpetuity that were running the show that didn't give a fuck about us. They may have changed figureheads, but that monolithic machine was still in charge and still continues to largely be in charge. The idea that because there's a potential outsider that it's like, oh my God, this potential outsider, he may declare himself God Emperor King. This is unacceptable. Now, do I wish that Trump would do things better? Sure. But the very things that I have to criticize Trump are probably what made him a successful businessman and a successful politician in the first place. It's hard to be a nice guy and win. And so, I don't know. I guess that's my long-winded way of that. I just don't put any stock into this, like, Trump surrounded himself with yes men and they're about to engage in a militaristic takeover of the United States. I think it's fucking laughable. I just
Okay. And thank you so much for talking. I would love to, and I'm gonna I'll keep watching. Hopefully, the clip with Stephen Miller is super interesting. It's just interesting just to watch it, and then
I'll see if I can find
I
it, man. I will,
yeah.
and we'll show it on stream here maybe
Yeah,
tonight.
and I agree with you. I think the machine is the machine, and people want to protect their clique or whatever it is, and they're scared of somebody coming in that maybe doesn't respect the machine, because they know how powerful the machine can get. And when you're having somebody that's leading America, it's almost like for example, last question, if hypothetically Trump did claim himself as God, Emperor of the world, would you look at whatever the Democrats did as differently, as kind of
No,
okay?
I would say, like, it'd be the equivalent of saying this, right? Like, let me tell you a little story about the origins of Antifa. I had a debate in this years ago, and I didn't realize till after the debate someone steered me in the right direction. Antifa gets its start up, like, basically in Germany, as that Austrian painter guy's rising to power, right? Like, so they're coming up, and we think of it as, well, he was a fascist, right? That party was a fascist party, and Antifa is anti-fascist, so they were fighting him. But that's not really what happened. Antifa actually aligned themselves with Hitler, and to go after this sort of more liberal, what we would consider like liberal Democrats.
Mhm.
They went after them. They were on board with the fascist, right? To go after the more moderates, right? Then they became enemies afterwards. So it'd be like the equivalent of saying this, like, well, seeing as how I saw what Hitler would eventually become, does that make me change my view on how Antifa got started? Well, no, they were doing terrible shit too. In fact, in large part because of them, Hitler was able to rise to power. Or an even better example than Antifa, like the communists. Like, one of the reasons that Hitler became popular was you had all these communists that were like beating the shit out of workers and shit in Germany, right? And so there, if you're a German citizen, you're like, what the fuck is this? This lawlessness, this riots. And in comes this strong man and says, I'll take care of this shit. And he did like crazy shit. Like he not only did he stop that violence, but he did shit like he cleaned up the factories. It was very like meticulous. We want clean work environments and shit like you'd probably be like, finally, right? Now, if we look back and we're like, yeah, but look, this dude ended up being bad. So that must mean the other side was good, right? No, there's shit too.
Oh yeah.
If the Democrats and these institutions decided that they were going to be really in charge and our voice didn't matter, and that results in a bad guy from the other side rising up, no, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden I look at what they did is legitimate. No.
Gotcha. Thank you,
So-
Rob.
No problem, man. Ted, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank
man,
you.
I appreciate
I
you,
really
man.
appreciate it. Yeah, hopefully we talk again soon. So
Absolutely.
you have a good day, man.
You too.
Take it easy. All right. Look at this guy. Psy Guy says, I'm poor, but thanks for the content. Thank you. Look, obviously, it's a weird feeling. I've talked about this before. It's a weird feeling to ask for money. It's like being what do they call that? A busking when you're playing like a guitar and you have your case open, right? It's sort of like that. Because my honest to goodness feeling is I don't want people to send money if they don't have extra money to send. So in no way, shape, or form, if you're someone out there and you're like, I feel bad, I've never sent money to Rob, don't feel bad. It's perfectly reasonable. It's okay. Having said that, I really do appreciate the people that send money. So thank you all so much. Jonathan Thorpe, $20, says for your wife's pain and suffering. Thank you so much, Jonathan. She has a lot of it being married to me, I assure you. And then GG for $2 says, don't blame me. I voted for Kodos. That's, yeah, Kodos and Kang. It's a great, I'm glad I'm not the only one who remembered that. Now see, our friend and mod, Are We Not Men, wants me to just leave the chair up until we reach our goal. I don't know what to say about that. Part of me says he's probably right. Thanks, Dylan. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, 10 is an excellent dude. I really like when 10 calls in because 10's not someone who's going to agree with me. 10's someone who's like, hey, I'm getting involved in politics and I'm just asking questions. And I hope that he's not just watching me. I hope that he is getting content from people that disagree with me. I really do. But I don't want to put out the false impression that I'm not biased, because I am certainly biased. I want to be absolutely clear about that. But I also believe everyone's biased. The only way to not be biased is to be like, I guess I'm unbiased about like, hey, Rob, what do you think about this war of secession in Prussia in 1323? Did you favor like, the side that was based in the North or the side that was based in the South? I guess from that context, because I've never heard of that, I'd be like, I guess I'm unbiased because I'm ignorant of the situation. But, with all of these matters of politics, particularly when you're talking to people that are interested enough that they have a stream talking about it, there is no political streamer that's not biased. There's not. And all of the people that are consuming the information are also biased as well. The key is to try to limit your bias to the best of your ability, but I am certainly biased. So you should remember that as an audience. I'm not right about everything, and you should try to proceed to go and get information, get the counter perspective as well. Now, we're going to bring on Alley Cat here. Then I'm going to yell at people. At 2 o'clock, I'll yell for not reaching our goal yet. Night shift crew, my mod, Are We Not Men? He's giving me the business. The night shift crew is going to make fun of me. They're going to say like, oh, Rob, you're probably not well endowed. You're stupid. You're fat. You couldn't reach your goal in the day shift. And I'll be like, I know. Now night shift Rob will be like, fuck you people. He's not like day shift Rob. So, all right, Alley Cat. Oh, look at this real quick. Kerberos, $20. Thanks so much. It's hey new around here, but I'm enjoying your work. So here's some money. Cheers. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. I enjoy my work as well. Thank you. I mean, I enjoy the work as I like doing this, but I don't know that I would enjoy my content if I wasn't me and was watching it. I don't know. It's an interesting thought experiment. Alley Cat, what's happening today, my friend?
Oh, I'm in a good mood. I was
Good.
just I was watching the debate with Jake, and he just kicked ass.
We're
Like,
going to be reviewing that tonight, so don't
Okay,
spoil
good.
it for me. Don't. Now listen, it's one of the things I like to do is when I review a debate to go into it totally blind. But
Okay.
it's already been. Well, no. That's fine. You can talk about it. I'm just saying I've already had a bunch of people tell me like it was a real ass whooping. So I'm already influenced, in that sense. But
Okay, so I mean, so the kind of the purpose here is to help provide some of your favorite things, which is unsolicited advice. Because knowing that you got a debate on this exact same topic coming up, I was like thinking about doing a little debate prep, and maybe this is a better call for tomorrow.
It's all right. No, go for it.
Okay, so there's a couple points. So this way, so I don't spoil as much. There's a couple points that I was going
You
at.
can spoil away. I don't care.
Okay.
It's perfectly fine.
So a lot of what his opponent was going after was basically the Cato study and a couple others that basically focused on death and not just violence. And that was the first thing Jake was like, no, we got to agree that violence is more than just death. It's property damage and beating people up and all the other stuff. And so he went off on this death, and he's just like, oh well, we have to weigh death more. And what I was not, this is kind of a tricky subject, but the idea is, how do you weigh death versus something like property damage? And the reality is that there is a way you can do it. The EPA does it. The House of Homeland Security's insurance companies do it all the time. And they do something that's called the value of statistical life. And currently the EPA sets that value at about 13.7 million per person. So when you sit there and say, well, how many deaths is equal to the George Floyd riots and the property damage? Well, if you estimate the property damage of $2 billion in property damage, that comes out to about 150 lives with this formula. And so that, I don't know how useful it will be, but it is a good way to sit there and say that, you sit there and look at the lives lost and try to make a comparison and talk to
it is a comparison. I don't know how good it is in this sense. That's with a goal in mind. That's looking like at the economic impact only. Like, like how much is, if someone robs all of the money of Elon Musk, he puts all of his money in Bitcoin, and someone somehow cracks his code and gets it all, and they're now worth what's he worth? Hundreds of billions of dollars, I think, whatever, right? Like that. How do I evaluate that versus someone murdering me? Right. On one hand, you'd be like, well, this crime that happened to Elon is far more substantial. Well, yeah, except to my family that lost their husband, their father, their son, their brother. Right. So it's difficult. Right. It's difficult to make these comparisons. There's other ways to look at it, though. Like, why are we really concerned about political violence? Right. What's the idea behind it? What makes it unique? Like, for example, why would I give a shit? Why can't I do this? Right. Why not just look at the violence that the average voter is willing to commit? And if I say, well, blacks vote overwhelmingly for Democrats and they're responsible for so much more violent crime, right? They would say, well, who gives a shit? You can't say that's because of the policies of the Democrats. In other words, you're not black, like a black guy that shoots someone in gang violence in like inner city Chicago isn't saying, and this is for Kamala Harris. Like that's not happening, right? Like there's motivations to that aren't direct political motivations. You're on my turf. We have some sort of beef. I'm trying to increase the size of my drug market, whatever. These aren't political motivations. So why are we focused on political motivations? What is it uniquely about that makes this a conversation worth happening? Well, it's because of the implication that this is violence designed to steer the direction of the country. By definition, that's sort of what terrorism is. So when you look at so then if we say, well, the right wing had these white supremacists and they want a white nationalist society and they killed 10 people last year. That's horrific. Fuck these groups. Fuck it, right? Like they deserve to face the fullest extent of the law. Now 10 people dead is, on one hand, we could both agree, in a country of hundreds of millions of people, not a lot of people. But that's horrific. Every death would be horrific. I totally get that, right? How much will that change the direction of the country versus hundreds of examples of riots in the name of a political ideology? Which one has more of an effect to steer the culture and the policies of this country? Right? In that sense, if we're looking at political violence from the perspective of, well, this is because it's done to intimidate people into political positions, which one's more effectual? And it's not even close, right? And so in that sense, and there's other things, there's second order consequences. For example,
Yeah.
if your political violence causes billions of dollars in damage, like let's say that left-wing groups decide to terrorize Portland, right? Which then means that local shops move out of Portland, which then means that someone that's stuck living in Portland can't get a good job, which then means they turn to substance abuse, which then means that they die of an overdose at 24 years old. Is that a death attributed to political violence? I don't know. It's the same rationale that we had, and I mentioned this last night. It's the same rationale under the pandemic. Not one death. Not one death. If we could save even one person, then everything's on the book. Okay, let's take that to the logical extension. Well, then the speed limit should be 5 mile an hour everywhere, right? If it prevents even one vehicular death, then it would be worth doing it, right? Well, no, not really, because what would happen would be, it would be such an infringement on people. By the way, it's the same justification for then, well, we'll just lock you in your home. The mere fact that you leave your home and cross the street means you're at some sort of risk that a car could hit you. So do we say no one's allowed to cross the street anymore? Of course not. It's the famous Charlie Kirk example where he said, "Look, I understand that people lose their lives under guns, but that's not worth sacrificing the Second Amendment over, because the Second Amendment has very important implications to check on government tyranny and our rights, et cetera, et cetera." And the point is, of course, you're not belittling the deaths. It's fucking horrific. But the truth is, if we are willing to give up all of the things that we enjoy in life, if it saves even one death, it would be nonsensical. The same is true here in the inverse. Like, to say that the only thing that matters is deaths is just absolute stupidity, right?
Agreed.
Now, oftentimes the way you debate, it's like rungs of a ladder, right? Is the way I look at it. In order for them, there's several rungs in order to win an argument that you have to win. So if we look at this, the first rung that I would attack is the rung that only deaths should matter. That's fucking nonsensical. Deaths certainly would be the highest thing that we evaluate, and it's not an easy formula. You mentioned that there is a formula that's used, but it's not really easy. It's hard to make these comparisons. But I think all of us would say that like 10 million people getting robbed, getting their houses stolen from them, would probably be worse than one person murdered from a societal aspect.
I agree.
The murder's worse, certainly, but it's limited to one person as opposed to 10 million. So there's some way that we could say clearly as a society, we understand that there are things that if they're so widespread, that could outweigh small numbers of deaths. Like we see that. That's why we allow people to drive 75 mile an hour on the interstate. The societal benefits outweigh the number of, like, well, so you see it. But then the other rungs that you attack it are things like this. And your study's full of shit. There actually are more deaths that result from.
Right. No, I was gonna go with that. Like, one, you bring up a good point. Well, everybody always leaves out the second part of Charlie Kirk's argument, is that cars kill more people than guns, and we use those all the time because we believe it's worth it. That's his argument. You know, and basically for what you said. But yeah, so there was two other points I wanted to hit. One was what you were getting at. One thing Jake did pretty well is talk about the misclassification. And that is what ends up happening is that when it's a right wing, when it's a white guy killing a black guy, all of a sudden that's right wing violence. But when it's a black guy killing a white person, now that's racial violence. You see,
it's not even that. Most of the time they don't qualify it as racial violence. They'll just qualify it as like an act of violence.
Yeah.
Like for example, if a white guy you're right about the political violence, but like if I go out and kill a black guy, they'll try to shoehorn that in as a hate crime. If a black guy goes out and kills a white guy, there ain't no hate crime there. Right. That Irina gets killed, I got that white girl, and everyone's like, there's no evidence that this was racially motivated.
Exactly.
But if a white guy kills a black guy, the default assumption is racism? Was it racism? Is that what's involved here? So yes.
So I guess that just to finish up the point is that I think that when we look at something like this, the way to look at it is that the right wing and the left wing is about ideas. Like, you know, how do you feel about trans people? How do you feel about race? And how do you feel about that? And so this whole idea that you classify right, left, but then also have classifications for trans and have classifications for racism and have classifications for like religion. That's just that's like an apples to oranges comparison. You have to know that, hey, when there's like a trans killing and it's a trans shooter shooting up children, that's on the left wing. When it's somebody shooting a trans person, then that's right-wing violence. You have to look at it that way.
I don't agree with that necessarily. I don't think that that's necessarily how we should. Certainly, that's okay. So I I vote Republican, and my friend's trans. I get into a business arrangement with my trans friend, right? And they steal all of the money out of the safe, and I confront them, and we struggle, and I end up ending their life. Was that right-wing violence?
Well, you didn't commit the violence.
Yeah. Well, let's say I did. You know,
Okay.
let's put it on the opposite. I'm stealing the money, right?
Okay.
And my trans business partner's like, "What the fuck are you doing? I'm calling the police." Bam! I take them out. Was that right-wing violence? I don't think so, because the motivation had nothing to do with the identity of the person that I've attacked, nor any political cause.
Yeah.
I was trying to commit a financial crime, and someone stepped in, and in my attempts to get away with it, I ended that person's life. That's not right-wing violence.
Okay. So, but what happens when the motivation is political? Like again, like the trans shooters, trans shooters in the school.
Right. I'm merely making the point that to just say, here is the identity of the victim, or here is the idea of the assailant, that we're able to say, yeah, clearly it's this. Because, like, yeah, you're right.
I had the assumption that it was a political. Yeah. It was a political.
Even there, here's where it gets tough. Look at the Christchurch shooter, right? Now, the Christchurch shooter in New Zealand has this huge manifesto. And part of the manifesto is like, I don't like brown people. Okay, that's right-wing violence, right? That's what they say. Now, I have questions as to why someone with a racial supremacist idea is just default classified as right. Would that mean that a black supremacist kills someone? That's right-wing violence? You see, it gets difficult. Nonetheless, okay, let's accept for the sake of argument that that's right-wing. He also said that one of the reasons he was killing people was overpopulation because of climate change. Now, that's a left-wing cause. So is that a right-wing or a left-wing shooter?
Yeah, well, and yeah, you're right. You're getting at the idea that it's really hard to make these classifications. I guess I was just looking for a clean way to draw lines if you have to do such a thing. Like, and you notice what ended up happening with all these studies is they ended up cherry picking data just to try to avoid complex situations. Like the Cato study eliminates 9/11 because they didn't want too many Muslim killings, right? They thought it distorted
so many of these studies are like starting on September 12th, 2001.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, why did you choose that date?
Exactly.
That's an interesting date to choose.
The ADL just flat out said we're not including George Floyd protests. Like,
I mean, you're right. These
yeah.
studies are bullshit, and like we went through some of them the other day. I don't know if it was the Cato study itself, but we looked at some of these instances of violence, and it would say things like this. This person went through it, and they were just like, we just took a random section of time, and we started to go through their list. And here were things that were qualified as right-wing violence. 3 black guys robbed a Mexican man and used racial slurs at the Mexican man. Right-wing violence.
Yep.
Really? A Catholic church was vandalized with someone drawing swastikas and making iconic read to Hitler. Right-wing violence. Now, to me, that's the exact opposite. If I had to guess, I'd say, oh, someone attacking a church, that seems left-wing. No, that was considered right-wing violence, right? And there's example after example. 9 people in a white supremacist gang arrested for selling meth. Right-wing violence. 9 examples of right-wing. They count each conviction, right? And so it's like, the way that they do these studies is bullshit. You could easily, in fact, maybe I'll do that. Maybe that's what I'll do. Elon, pay me fucking $100 million and I'll go through all that data and I'll be a biased piece of shit and slant it to left-wing violence. And looking at the exact data set, I'll say, look, the majority of the deaths are left-wing violence. I included every interracial murder from a black person to a white person as left-wing. Oh my goodness, look at that. Now the left-wing violence is through the roof. So it's...
I'm with you.
It's bull. You're absolutely right. So the idea of only counting deaths is bullshit. The idea of how they define right and left is bullshit. The idea of how they define when it is an example of that is bullshit. And it's done. The problem is at 2 levels that it's bullshit. One, it's bullshit at the actual law enforcement level. So how is a place like Cato or wherever, how are they getting the data? I mean, they're not doing it themselves, right?
No, they're getting it from the federal government. Yeah, it's usually
they're getting it from law enforcement.
Right.
But at some point, everyone who's doing a study like this is getting it from law enforcement. They're looking at arrest statistics. They're looking at outcomes. So if, for example, the FBI says, you know what, when Steve Scalise got shot at a Republican ball field, that wasn't left-wing violence. That was suicide by cop.
Right.
Now, how's that data going to look? Even if I approach the data with the best possible motivations, when I collect that, or the Foot Hood shooting, that was workplace violence. That wasn't Islamic terrorism.
Well,
right?
And
So
Yeah.
that's the first level, that law enforcement, right, is
Right.
biased. We see that. The law enforcement, the way they collect the data is biased. Then you have the second level, the people that are looking at the data, and are they biased? So
Oh, there's a level above that though, and that is, what about all these things that happened and the police didn't make an arrest?
well, that's just it. So that goes into law enforcement. So, for example,
Yeah.
if Black Lives Matter, if they watch Portland burn to the ground and they say, we're not going to make any arrests, that qualifies as 0 instances of right-wing violence. If
Exactly.
4 right-wingers show up to protect their building and they get arrested for disorderly conduct or aggravated assault, we'll say, that's 4 instances of right-wing violence.
Yep.
Even though they were protecting from thousands of instances of left-wing violence that was occurring and the police were allowing go. The way the data would show up there is, like, if right now, Antifa in Portland, Nick Sorter gets arrested. The woman that hits Katie Davis court, she's allowed to go by the police. That's one instance of right-wing violence. That's what that would qualify as if you're looking at the data. See, right-wing journalist, swung a punch. There you go, right-wing violence. Yeah, but he was attacked by a bunch of lefties that were let go. We don't see that in the data. Data doesn't show that. The data shows there was an arrest. Now, granted, they dropped that charge, so it wouldn't show. But you see the point. So, yes, that qualifies as well. So,
Okay, so I'm going to leave the last point is, like, again, probably the maybe most controversial, but it's the philosophical argument. And the basic idea is that people on the right tend to be what called conservatives, right? The people on the left tend to be called what progressives. Well, what is a conservative? Somebody who likes the status quo and wants to keep it that way, where a progressive is somebody who's looking for change.
I disagree with that. I disagree.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
conservative and I hate the status quo, but
okay,
but I understand.
Right, but the idea is that generally people who like the status quo don't commit violence. It's the people that want change that want to commit violence, right? When they want change, they're the ones that want to commit political violence.
I mean, okay, I want a radical departure from the institutions we have in this country. So do most conservatives. So we're more likely to commit violence.
To get that, potentially, yes.
I don't think so.
I
don't think the data bears that out at all.
Okay. I mean,
you think?
I guess the question becomes is how does that happen?
Do our institutions, so circa 2020, were our institutions more in line with the left wing or the right wing?
2020?
Yeah.
The left wing.
Okay, who was committing more violence?
The left wing.
So if it was just about the party in power, it's the other side that wants change that's going to do it. I disagree. I don't think that bears out, at least what we've seen in recent history. Now, I think fundamentally you're hitting on a point, which is if things are going the way you want, you're less likely to commit violence. That's true, right? But the idea is many of these people on the left don't look at it as things are going the way they want. It doesn't matter if they are. Like Black Lives Matter, one of the things we kept hearing was this country won't talk about the issues that Black Lives Matter wants to talk about. Meanwhile, every show you turned on, every news program, every fictional TV show, every video game that you turned on, every entertainer that you saw, they're all like, oh, Black Americans being treated like shit. And yet it didn't matter. They were like, nope, not enough. It's not enough. If the Academy Awards gave 70% of the Oscars to Black people, the argument would be not enough. That's not enough. So you're functionally correct that they would say we want change, even though the institution, I mean, you know this, like I talk to people. You remember, I think you watched this episode where I was doing this like Discord invasion and I'm talking to these left-wingers. They're like socialists. And they're like, the problem with the United States is right-wing media. Well, Australia, they said, but then we took it to the United States. And I was like, well, like what? You mean like Breitbart and shit? They're like, no, right-wing media like CNN and the New York Times. And I was like, well, are you one of those people that define right-wing as anything that's not communism? And they clarified. They said, no, it's that they're pro-Trump. The New York Times and CNN are pro-Trump. Now, those people would say this needs to radically change. Those of us in objective reality be like, what the fuck are you talking about? The New York Times is pro-Trump, and they sincerely believe it. So when you're living in a different reality, you're right. You say, even though that like you could riot with near impunity in Portland, and the local government just lets it go, and they're still like, this government hates us. We need to change. This is brutal. So,
yeah.
You're sort of right.
Yeah, I guess I was just, it's kind of just getting at the points that you're going after. That is that basically the left has decided they can't get changed the right way, so they're going to
Yes,
through normal means, so they're
the
going to take
violence-
extraordinary means.
This is why I say
Yeah.
all the time, when they had access to power, almost monolithic power, they were still violent. So when they lose that access, it's going to get worse. And that's exactly what we're seeing. So, hey, I got to let you go, Ali.
Yeah, that's
Thank
fine.
you so much,
Yep,
man. I
again.
appreciate. Tune in.
Justice
tonight.
for Kea.
I'll be covering
Justice for
more.
Kea. Justice for
Thank
Kea.
you. We don't want the Hassan Brigade to get in here. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. All right. Now, listen, Alex and Marino's legacy, I promise we'll try to get to you. But I do owe my mod, Are We Not Men? He thinks that I should just do a chair stream until we get to the goal. So I'm just gonna put the chair up here for a minute. I am. Until we get to the goal. Just for a minute. Oh! I forgot to take my headset off. Just for a minute. Because if I know one thing, it's that Hassan is an amazing, amazing streamer. He's just, what a great guy. He's so popular. He makes so much money and he gets so much influence. So, of course, I'll model my channel after Hassan here, is what I'm trying to do. Here you go. The Hassan stream chair. Enjoy this for a minute. Circle. What the fuck, chair? What you doing, chair? Huh? You gonna raise money? Oh, did you just move? Did you just move, chair? Huh? Yeah, how do you like that, chair? Stay in your fucking spot. Fucking chair. Can you believe the audacity of this thing? Can you believe it? Had to bring out the old shock collar. Fucking chair, anyways. Huh. I'm telling you guys, if we don't get to a goal today, this chair is getting it. All you guys that are fans of the chair, I'm going to hook that shock collar right up to it. This thing's going to get the shit beat out of it. Can you believe it? This chair's job's to sit here and not move the entire stream. Unbelievable. All right, the joke's over. It's dew claw. The chair's dew claw got stuck on the ground. That wasn't even a shock. That wasn't even a shock. It was the dew claw. The chair's dew claw got stuck. That's what happened. All right. Anyways, I would appreciate donations, but I'm not gonna do that. I abuse my chair when I'm not on stream. I'm not so stupid to beat the shit out of it on stream or shock it like allegedly our boy Hassan did. But I am just trying. Hey, listen, Dan Clancy at Twitch. I'm just trying to model myself after your favorite streamer, Hassan. That's all. Maybe we'll line up a Houthi terrorist next week. Wouldn't it be great? Never Lucky Rubber Ducky, $10 as chair. I'm sorry, Rob, for I've not moved. 0.25 inches, and over the course of my lifetime. Please, Father, may I move? Rabbit chair down, boy. Yes. I've learned from Hassan. All right. Ulix, you ready? Looks like you're out in public somewhere.
Good.
All right. What's happening today, my friend?
Yeah. Oh, you just reminded me of something. Have you seen the movie The Truman Show?
Yes, yeah. A while ago, but yeah, I've seen it.
Well, Twitch just had its, first live streamed birth, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Just like Truman. So
they literally someone live
monetizing.
stream-
The
that
CEO
happened?
of Twitch actually responded to it in the comments.
Wow. What a man. Listen, it's weird. I divulge a lot of my personal life on here, but there are some moments like I don't understand how people give private moments out like that. But I was unaware of this. This is the first time hearing it. That someone streamed their birth live. I'm sure that was fun to watch.
All right, so I'm about to dox myself, but just this is normal America, right? So
right.
this is Comanche Lookout Tower. So this is a landmark here in San Antonio. There are
It's
mammoth
amazing.
bones around here, and I mean, if I walk 20 feet forward, I will lose signal. So I'm going to get close to it, and we're gonna drop. But I just thought, this is something cool,
Yeah,
and I put it on
really
your stream.
cool. I like that, man. That's really cool.
This
There's
is where they would look out for the Comanches and Apaches.
We could make it Democrat lookout post now, illegal lookout post. There's this where I'm from. There's this place near where I'm from. Its name's Helen's Furnace, and Helen's Furnace was used during the Civil War, like it's a little furnace that they were using to create things that they would need for the Northern troops. Oh man, I lost Ulix. Well, I'll finish my story. I didn't boot him, I promise. And I one night I was trying to tell my friends about it because I thought they'd never heard of it, and I called it like Hell's Kiln. And I was like, "Oh man, it's somewhere back in the woods. It's in this forest. It's kind of off a beaten path." So we drove around for like hours, and I couldn't find this damn thing. And finally, someone's like, "Do you mean Helen's Furnace?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's it." And they're like, "Yeah, you dumbass. We all know where that's at." But I thought I had this like super secret thing that no one had heard of, and everyone's like, "Yeah, you dumbass. We know where that is." But I made the name sound cooler in my head. Hell's Kiln. I was watching too much Gordon Ramsay, I think. Racist landmark. Listen, I'm warning you guys. As soon as this stream's over, I'm going to beat the shit out of this chair if we don't reach our super chat goal. That's on you. You made me do it. Just throwing that out there. I'm looking to see how I could get a dog shock collar that's big enough that it could go around the back of the chair. So it's on you guys. If that's what you want to happen, let's not get to the goal. All right. Marino's Legacy. Can you hear me, my friend?
Hey, what's up, Rob? Am I does that sound good?
You sound great, man. What's happening today?
Yeah, just that was a good conversation we had a few days ago about COVID, and
Yeah.
I guess I've been watching your show for a good 6 months or longer. I really enjoy your show.
Thank you.
Something that's really been bothering me for over a year now, and other people I talk to have similar concerns. Just to put it in layman's terms and simple terms, I'm the pretty far right.
Okay.
Me and you probably have some disagreements, but one of the things I'm really concerned about is over the past, I don't know, 2-3 years, a lot of dissident right, taboo subjects on the right, like stuff like race realism, etc., kind of stuff that's been taboo since in the post World War II America is just allowed to be talked about now, and even people that are quote unquote establishment figures are pretty much peddling right up to white nationalist rhetoric. And the reason I find that so concerning is because many of these institutions have the same people in them. It's not like there's just been this massive transformation within the institutions. So why all of a sudden is this rhetoric being allowed? It almost seems like I even see, I don't know, this is in response after this. Some of the rhetoric I hear even from people that are supposedly on my side of things philosophically are saying it in a way that's almost purposefully antagonistic.
Would you
Almost
say, let me ask you, you don't have to lie to me. I don't care. Right? Would you call yourself a white nationalist?
I would say I'm definitely probably in that area, yeah.
By that, would you mean like, and again, I'm not saying this to shit on you. I disagree with that perspective, by the way. But would you say just a little couple questions about it, and then I'll get to your point. Do you mean by that like we literally should kick all black people out of the country, or all brown people, everyone who's not white? Or do you think we should divvy it up and have different areas? Or do you think that we should just all voluntarily be allowed to associate with people that we want? And if that means my business says we keep out certain people, we're allowed to do that. Like, what exactly do you mean by white nationalism?
Well, no, I'm not like autistic about it. Like every single non-white has to be kicked. I don't know. I think it's just a model similar to what China has.
Mm-hmm.
You know, China has minorities that exist, but the basic ethos and founding cultural and racial hegemony for the Han Chinese people. It doesn't mean you don't have minorities. It doesn't mean minorities don't have rights. It doesn't mean people don't have dignity, etc.
So then correct me if I'm wrong. It would be less about the people that are already here and more about where we move going forward. So when we're talking about immigration, etc., we're not trying to immigrate people of different cultures. We're trying to immigrate like European cultural type people, and that would be about it.
Yeah. It's just like I said, it would be the same thing kind of modeled after. Like when China has an immigration system, it's an immigration system that's geared towards helping the Han Chinese people. So maybe they'll hire immigrants that are from Vietnam or Hispanics to do a certain engineering project. But it's not like our immigration system that's compromised where it's basically like they're literally trying to do a demographic replacement.
So let me say this. Like, it's difficult because the term white nationalism means different things to so many different people. So I was just trying to nail it down. And you could have said, yeah, I just want this country to be just for white people. Or you could have called in and said, I want this country to just be for black people. And I'll have the conversation. I don't care. I don't consider myself a white nationalist. I think that we're all tribal. My group that I look at more is people in rural places. This way of life, like blue collar Christian rural people, is what I have more of an affinity for. But I'm certainly tribal, and I certainly advocate for those people and want our country to celebrate, venerate, and work hard for those people more than I would other groups. I want my family to thrive first and foremost. I want my church to thrive. I want my community to thrive. That doesn't mean I don't want New York City to thrive. I hope it does. But my primary concerns, those around me. Nonetheless, so now that I just have a little baseline to your point, yeah, I think that you're seeing conversations that used to be taboo become more and more open. The question is this nefarious, right? So is it sort of, let me see if I could get to what you're getting at. Are they sort of co-opting the movement, right? Or co-opting the conversation? So it would go something like this, and see if this is what you're hinting at. Right now, things are getting so bad that it's hard to cover up. Right. And so for the perspective of like, if you're just like a white person in the United States, or you're a Christian, or you're a man, or you're a conservative, whatever, it's becoming real hard to keep that veil over your eyes that there aren't people, massive amounts of people in this country and institutions that fucking hate you. They do. For those reasons. They hate you. They hate you because you're white. They hate you because you're Christian. They hate you because you're a man. That's true. And this is something that I've said about white nationalists a lot. The problem is, the prescription that they have based on those true facts is where I disagree. But it's absolutely true that there are institutions in this country that hate you because you're white, because you're Christian, because now I think that the reason for that is that ultimately their goal is to erode national identity and any sort of identity that's not just total subservience to the people in power. So they don't want you to be proud of your religion. They don't want you to be proud of your nation and want to advocate for it. They want everyone to be interchangeable cogs that don't really have individual identities, that just basically worship at the altar of the state government and have like sort of a one state government around the world. But that's my crazy conspiratorial belief. Nonetheless, so let's say that things get so bad that now it's like, look, you can't cover up the fact that we have a lot of fucking crime in inner cities being committed by black people, where you have judges just letting them out, and they're recidivists. They keep committing these crimes over and over again, and they're left out in the street, and they're attacking white people and other people, by the way, and it's never covered, and it's not taken seriously, and people are having enough. A term that you hear people throw around a lot is black fatigue. Right? We're fucking had it. We're tired of it. We're tired of having to tiptoe around this conversation that there's not certain percentages of the population that are fucking, it's seemingly so antisocial and so against the values of sort of social respect that we have that they'll like beat the shit out of you if they think you utter a word, or that homicide rates are through the roof, or theft rates and shit like that. Now, I'm just describing what many people are saying here, right? And so now it's like, well, the conversation can't be shoehorned in anymore, or it can't be silenced anymore because of social media. People are talking about it. So what they do is, hypothetically, they're like, well, we'll put people in that we have control that become sort of the leaders of the movement, right? Nick
Right.
Fuentes is a Fed. He's really a Fed. Right?
Right.
And so when he's talking about this, everyone's like, yeah, Nick's talking about something that's taboo. There must be truth here, but he's really a Fed. He's there to say, by the way, I'm not saying Nick's a Fed. I'm saying this is the argument, right? People like Nick Fuentes or Candace Owens or these other people that are, saying things that used to be considered dissident and taboo that would get you silenced. Well, now we can't silence them. We can't destroy the well, so we'll poison the well. We'll control the people that are there. I don't know. I guess that's a possibility that that's what's going on. It's difficult to even talk about these things because let's assume for a second that it's
Rob. Let me give you an example. This is why I think something nefarious is going on. Tell me if my logic is off, and if somebody else is up, you can bring them on. I don't want it to keep you for so long.
I only have 3 minutes anyways. Then I got to go pick up my son. But go ahead.
So, like, if this was a real, authentic, right-wing movement in the government, in the institutions that was authentically happening, well, then a few things would be happening that would be obvious. Number one, someone like Derek Chauvin would be released, right? Number two,
I disagree, but go ahead.
I guess we disagree there, but the federal government would push harder to release him, at least put it that way. Number two, if the government was so concerned about restoring order when it came to immigration and the immigration laws being enforced, if that was actually true, then they wouldn't be bringing in all these H-1Bs. In other words,
I totally. So I got to be fast here, right? Because I only have a couple minutes. I agree with that. Like that portion of it, I agree, right? I think that what's really happening is Trump understood, and the people in the government that are working with Trump understood the mass anger people had, particularly at illegal immigration. Most people are sort of formerly where I was on immigration, which is, look, we're willing to bring in anybody as long as they at least somewhat fit into our culture, but they could be Buddhist, they could be Islamists. We don't give a shit as long as they're productive to the United States. So immigration was a tool to benefit the people that were already here. And what happened was, no, immigration became a tool to replace the people that are already here. And Trump's in the camp of, no, we can still bring in brown people, Indian people, African people, whatever. That's all cool, as long as they're good for business. That's what's important. But that wasn't easy to say. Trump's base is like, no, we're fucking tired of all this because we see this as the domestic population being replaced by people that don't share our culture. Trump doesn't get, like, I think Trump is most represented in like what Vivek Ramaswamy, when he was defending H-1Bs. Vivek's looking at the country as like this great big corporations, and we're all cogs in this machine, and we just want the people that are the most talented to make the GDP the highest. And that's not how we're looking at it in the United States. That's not how much of Trump's base is doing it. So so it could be that it's not that it's just like, really, Trump also wants to replace white people. And if he didn't, he would end H-1Bs. No, I think Trump's looking at it differently. He would say, of course, we don't want to replace the domestic population. We just look at the United States as a place that we're like, we want the best and the most talented people here. And you're like, no, that's not it. It's not just about having the highest GDP or the most talented people. It's also that there is a domestic population here that has a distinct culture, and we're unwilling to bring people in that shatter that culture by the millions, even if it means that they're technically better electricians or they're better coders or shit like that. We're still not willing to do it. Then to the first point you make, though, right, where the idea of like Derek Chauvin being released, first off, I just think that the problem that you outline, or the potential problem that you outline, I don't think anyone's claiming that the federal government has a white nationalist bent to it. Like, show me who's talked about like overwhelming black crime in a serious way in the federal government. I don't see it. I interpreted what you were saying as more of, it's culturally more acceptable to have people like Sam Hyde or Nick Fuentes or a bunch of other people that are out there calling this shit out. That formerly, you're seeing it more mainstream. You'll see people like Michael Knowles talk about this stuff that formerly you might have been, or Matt Walsh. I don't know about Michael Knowles, but that formerly even Charlie Kirk. These are people that are more mainstream that started talking about these things. But that's different than the federal government. And also, that doesn't mean that they're going to be like, well, therefore, now we're going to tilt the scale so much immediately that it's like, let out Derek Chauvin. Like, I like the idea, like, do you understand the cultural tipping point that would need to happen? That's literally like, nope, we're going to overrule a jury and we're going to let this guy out because fuck it. Because George Floyd was on fentanyl, and that's that. And until they do that, then no one's serious about, actually calling out actual problems in the black community. I don't see that connection. I'll give you the last word. I got to go. It's 2:30. So you got like 20 seconds. I'm so sorry to rush you along, but I literally have to go pick up my son.
No, that's cool, Rob. I think it's just a matter of, and I'll finish on this. It's, and I'm sure you disagree on some points, but it's about restoring sovereignty. Because I just don't like the reason Derek Chauvin is a political prisoner. There's no sovereignty there. Our cities, there's no sovereignty in cities. We don't have sovereignty with our immigration system. And I'll just land it there.
All right. Well, hey, man, I appreciate it. Thanks so much, man. We'll talk soon. You call in anytime. I'm so sorry. Not tomorrow, though. I won't be here tomorrow, but Monday I'll be doing the call-in show again. I'm not trying to, it wasn't that I didn't like the conversation. I just literally have to go. So, well, we failed in achieving our goal. We have like a minute left. Is there any chance? Raid lower class? I didn't see lower class streaming. He's got to come on quick, man. I got to go. I can't fuck around. So if he's not, I'm going to check right now if he's not streaming, then we're raiding Jim Bob. Let's see. Yeah, it's going to be Jim Bob. I can't wait. I got to go. Lower class. To anyone else, I constantly say this. Please, please, please. Abe, lower class, EOD, anyone that streams, please do a stream at 2:30. I'm leaving my stream at 2:30 every single day. Every single day I'm leaving I'll check one more time. I'll share my screen and show you that I'm not seeing that lower class is there, just so no one can accuse I like lower class. Here's the people that I see streaming now. I'll show. He is not on the list. I see Grid. I see Jim Bob. That's it. So it's going to be Jim Bob. I don't have time to mess around. Also, you can send in donations if you like. We did not achieve our goal. I'm so sorry. Thank you to everyone who donated. Thank you to all my mods. I didn't have enough time to grift because I was arguing about trying to raid lower class. Womp womp. That's all right. Lower class, wish you the best. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to my editor. Thank you to Spiro. Thank you to Black Elk. Thank you to all my mods. Thank you to everyone that donated. Thank you to everyone that called in. I appreciate you all. God bless Charlie Kirk and his family. I'll see you.
Only in America is it possible to say, you know what, I don't like the way the country is going, and to do something about it. Take that risk. Take that leap of faith. Stay involved. Trust God and act obediently. Romans 12:2 verse. That God will use all things for good for those who love him. It's bigger than you. I want you to remember that. It is bigger than you. It's bigger than me. You are here to make somebody else's life better, the pursuit of liberty and freedom. You know what gives me strength? The hundreds of thousands of you that say, Charlie, keep going.
1 Corinthians 5 and 15. So that's all pretty amazing evidence, not just intra-biblical evidence, but extra-biblical evidence that Jesus Christ was a real person. He lived a perfect life. He was crucified, died, and rose on the third day, and he is Lord and God of all.